everybody. How are you? It's good to see you virtually. I will look to co-producer Stephanie Cake to make sure my audio is good. Does it sound okay, Cake? We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Everybody, I have missed you so much. I am sick. I am so sick. I was getting better, and then last night, I took a nosedive, a runny nosedive, so gross, and not doing good, not doing well at all. COVID test negative, the other day and this morning, but yes. Oh, hang on, let me shut this office door 1 second. And and last night too, my voice just completely went away. And so I'm very happy that this morning is the show. The show is the morning show today, because my voice will leave me soon after the show, probably, maybe by the end of the show. But nothing can dampen my spirits. It is kind of husky. You know, when you lose your voice, you have like that small window of like Kathleen Turner. So I have like a Kathleen Turner moment. Okay, so, oh God, I want to say hi to everybody. And by the way, thank you, Ivy. By the way, yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. A little spacey. Everyone is sick, it seems. I mean, when I tell somebody, oh, I'm really feeling bad, like Leslie Levy at the Quilt Museum, we were supposed to have a call on Wednesday. And I let her know I just couldn't do it. And she said she had 4 people out with fevers and things. And it's interesting, I don't run a fever too often. I had a little one the other day on the first day, on Tuesday. But when I was so ill and in and out of the hospital with my stuff 7 years ago now, my surgeon was like, "You're tricky, Mary Fonz, because you don't run fevers very often. But you're really sick right now." And the reason I went to the hospital at that point, back to the hospital, is because I just burst into tears. Like I was at my house and I was like, I feel so bad. And so getting emotional is really my sign that I'm really sick. And last night I was like, because everybody, I won't talk about it too much because I don't want to make it worse, but I was going to go to San Francisco right after the show today. Joe Cunningham, I'm so sad about this. I just sent the email to everybody. I was gonna go to Joe Cunningham's gallery opening with Mike McCormick and Brianna, managing editor of Quiltful magazine. We were gonna meet with Joe, have dinner at his house, and then meet tomorrow. And I was gonna be interviewed on his online workshop with Mike, and then on Sunday we were going to go to the opening of a show at his gallery of 12 G's Ben quilts, and one of the Petway family members will be there, and she's going to have dinner at Joe's house tonight, and I was going to hang out with her and Rita, who helped make the exhibition possible. And I can't believe it that I can't go, but I mean, party foul. You can't show up to a dinner at somebody's house like this. I mean, and I was just telling Cake before the show, I mean, you know, COVID is really, at least for me, pardon me, COVID, the pandemic experience has driven home for me the social contract, right? If you're sick, stay home, you know? To me, in my family, in my world, it's like, can you stand up, you know? Go to work, you know, if you're not like vomiting, you know, or whatever, so you got a runny nose, whatever. That was always the way I felt about it. But now it's like a serious party foul. It's not okay to show up at Joe Cunningham's house, and he's such a good cook. Oh my God, I've been there before, and he to show so irresponsible. And what am I gonna do? Get one of the Petway women sick? I mean, come on. So it breaks my heart because guess what? Of course, I was gonna live stream the thing, you guys. So bad. What is my bad bad thing. Here, this is what I do to my illness. Do it again. I hate you, illness. So, yeah, and it's so true. I'd be wearing a mask, but then like at dinner, taking off my mask. I need more Kleenex. Good heavenly days. What the? It's a crack up around here. So anyway, that's what's going on. But I am so happy to be here because I just feel like we haven't done the regular show in a long time, which is true. Because AQSG and then TwitchCon, and I have really great content for you today, of course, as usual, as always. And in a way, you know, I mean, I feel so bad. It's kind of cool. I'll just be doing the show tomorrow night from here instead of my hotel room, you know, which is kind of nice. But I just want to tell you a couple things about TwitchCon, and you know, Cake and I'll talk about it. Sorry. If you want the show today, you're gonna have to deal with that. But Stephanie, Cake, and I can talk about it, you know, more as you know as time goes on. I mean, I'm not gonna give like a full TwitchCon review because I want to get into the show and yeah, and I want to keep things rolling. But I will tell you though, I was so inspired. It was so incredible, and we talked a little bit about this on the streams on the fly. A few takeaways, and then I'll toss it to you, Cake, and you can tell me your takeaways. I'm gonna give like 3. I didn't prepare you for this, but this is what I'm thinking. So number 1, over and over, people, and we went to sessions all day, or I mean every day, all day. Over and over again, people talked about prioritizing your health. I mean, these streamers who are huge, you know, I mean, on like every panel and every workshop, I swear, the people leading the workshop and a lot of the people in the audience, when they talked about the kinds of streaming they do, they were like, you have to prioritize your mental health and your physical health because you can get burnout, but also, you know, just doing streaming, it's so fun and it's quite intimate. One of the women who was on the panel, she said it's so amazing. It's so intimate and wonderful, this live streaming format. But you know, it's a lot for you if you're the streamer. And so I learned that, you know, mental health all over and over. I was like, oh, am I like headed for some, you know, crash? And essentially they were saying, you know, yeah, you could be. And then another takeaway was experiment with your channel. Keep trying new things. It keeps you excited. It keeps your audience engaged. Try something crazy if you want. It's your channel. And so, guess what? Next week, on Thursday, the date of which is, someone will find it, we'll see. Oh, it's Kenny. On Thursday, I'm gonna do a work with me day. You can co-work with me. I'm gonna turn on probably a couple cameras and go live and just be here in the office and work. And I mean, I'll talk to you sometimes, but for the most part, I'm just gonna work. That's it, all day, because that's what I do all day. So I'm gonna turn on the camera and keep people company. You know, if you want to have me keep you company or just, you know, I think it sounds amazing. I think it sounds so great. And yes, I feel like the audience, a lot of you will be like, be careful, you know. I've already thought about how I will do a sweep of the whole place, make sure, you know, I don't have a package going out to Robin, you know, with their full address or something on it. Don't worry. And that's very important to me too. So I'll just, you don't need to worry about you. Don't worry about that. But I mean, I'll make sure there's no, I don't know, whatever. It's fine. But I will do that. And you won't see my screen or anything like that. It'll be kind of a long shot, right? And then I'm also gonna do, I haven't scheduled it yet, but I'm also gonna do a dedicated stream at some point that is, I think this is how I would say it, talking about my health journey. Because I mean, it's intense, man. When I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and I went through a whole lot of surgeries, they all went really badly. I live with a condition that is challenging. And I don't talk about it on the show much because, you know, the trauma dumping is real. And Molly, she killed me. She was like, if you do that special stream, please call it trauma dump. I was like, Molly, you are the worst. But anyway, It's really funny. But I mean, that is a term, trauma day. So I don't want to, I try not to bring that stuff up too often because you're here for entertainment. You're here for learning. If I start talking about that horrible, grisly experience, it's like, oh my God, because you all care about me and I care about you. So that's part of this parasocial relationship is, you're not here to, deal with my stuff. However, because of the nature of ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease and stuff, it's hard to talk about it because it's bathroom stuff, right? And so whenever I meet somebody who has had that problem or has that situation, I'm like, oh my God, hi. It's like meeting like a friend in a crowd in another country. You're like, oh my God, hi. That connection is so strong. So I know that people out there might be interested and might be benefited from me talking about what happened, because I've never done that, certainly on a live stream, but I've never made a YouTube video about it. And I've thought about it for years, actually doing that. So I'll make a specific stream. It will not be Quilt Nerd, it'll be this channel. And those who are interested can tune in. And if you know somebody who struggles with that kind of situation, let them know, because again, being able to find other people who have had the experience that I've had is really, it's good, because you understand, and it's hard to understand if you haven't had that experience. So that's an idea. And then the other thing, and then I'm gonna go to your takeaways, Kate. I was gonna do 3, but I've gone on long enough. The other thing that I'm gonna do is Quilt Shops by Ivana. You subscribed to Tier 3. You've subscribed for a year. You're on a 4-month streak. Thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you so much. The last thing is I am going to start playing Beat Saber. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it. I'm going to start playing Beat Saber and streaming the virtual reality, mixed reality. If you go to YouTube and Google Beat Saber live stream or something, you'll see. I'm really good at it. So sometimes I'll just go live and play Beat Saber. And the people who will be watching that will be very different, perhaps, from the Quilt Nerd people. But as Robin told me yesterday, you'll see a lot of Quilt Nerds will probably tune in when you're playing Beat Saber. So it'll be fun. It's my channel. I can do, whatever I want with it. And of course, Quilt Nerd is the centerpiece. But why not? TwitchCon was so inspiring. So, Stephanie Cake, darling, what did you take away? What are some hot takes from? Oh yeah, Cake's hot take.
Yes, Cake's hot take. Yeah. Well, I can say the one thing I did not take away was an illness. So I can safely say I did not give Mary what she has, and neither did Kenny. Kenny was there if you didn't catch our other streams. So yeah, I'm mad at whatever streamer got Mary sick, or whatever snotty person on the on the airplane. But I'm really bummed about this weekend you were gonna do, but it's so much more important that you're healthy. I've missed this.
Oh my God.
So anyway, my takeaways. Wow. I would say community, at least. And maybe community. But my third takeaway is I think that the experience of TwitchCon really changed how I feel about this.
Yeah.
And of course, Quilt Nerd is the funnest thing. I love it. I love everything that Mary does. I am thrilled to be involved. But I think I've also had kind of this mental shift about what it means to live stream. And not that my opinion or anything has changed about the show and how you do it, Mary, but I think that my head is wrapped around so much more about live streaming. And I could totally see many of you getting into this,
Yes.
And I'm not a gamer, but you better believe I will show up for Beat Saber, because I just, Mary's supposedly very good, and I got to see this. And, it's the community piece of it, I think, that we've always been celebrating about how much we love the Quilt Nerds, but it was really validating too, because I think we both went there and we were kind of like, the subscribers and just all the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's probably not feasible to grow this show to hundreds of thousands of people, because I don't think you guys would like it, and it would be difficult for Mary to manage. So we really kind of were able to reshape how, we just think about this community.
Yeah.
And, of course, we still want to grow it. We still want people coming and don't stop telling your friends.
Oh my God.
But I think it just really reshaped. And I'm excited for the future. I'm like, what's going to happen next as more people come? And I don't know how much you want me to spill the beans, Mary, but we got a special audience with some Twitch employees.
Oh my God, we did.
So
we did. Let's,
I think there probably weren't too many streamers there that got to meet the two people we did and like spend time, And
we took a meeting,
really
y'all. We did.
Yeah, we took a meeting. I mean, how many people get to do that?
I don't know.
And
not many.
it really validated what we're doing, because they talked to us about, for those of you that are gamers, I know there's some of you that are, or just if you've looked around Twitch, you'll see people gaming and you'll see them with 10,000 people are watching them. And I'm like, what? This is just, I can't wrap my head around that.
Yep.
But they are really, really talking about small communities and the importance of small communities.
Yeah.
And we are a nice, small, close-knit community. I kept telling people, you guys show up. When Mary starts streaming, you guys show up, and if you have to leave, you apologize.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the world of streaming. Yeah. You guys are such a different, you're just a different Twitch audience.
Yeah.
And, and I feel like we are a lot closer to you guys than some streamers are to their people, even their people that are there all the time.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. I didn't quite know what to expect. Me and Kenny and Mary were like, well, if you guys caught the stream, you saw Mary and Kenny and I were sitting there, trying to stream, have a little snack, and it was like, all right, get up, you guys, we need this space for a line, and it was just crazy. But that's a conference for you, or convention.
Yeah.
So
great.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was so cool.
Thank you, Kate. Those are really good points, and yeah. And there's a couple of things I want to share from the chat. Really good questions. Number one, Crafts for Others say, thanks everybody. Oh my gosh, I want to say hi to everybody. Okay, so Crafts for Others says, after you all mentioned there were so many people you had met who weren't gamers but doing other things on Twitch, totally, I looked at other subjects and found lots of people who cook live, and I love it. Yeah, cooking. One girl plays the violin, amazing. And then I met a mixologist, a guy who does beer show, and then an animal rights activist. But then also yesterday, Robin and I were kind of going over, and that's when my voice started to go, actually. It was interesting. But we were going over some of the things from classes, analytics, and different things that I learned. And we found there's Lego builds where people turn a camera on and they build Legos. And you have to, when you search on Twitch, it's Legos, but there's also Lego games, so you have to find the Lego build ones. But there's one girl who does Lego build ASMR. It's so crazy. So anyway, so it was amazing. We'll tell you more, as we go along. But I'm so glad to be here with you all. Kenny, it was wonderful to see you. Kenny, your husband also suffers from UC. Well, and yeah. It's just great. So. Yeah, interesting. Yes, wonderful. God, I love y'all. So, okay, let's talk about quilts. Let's do it. This quilt behind me, it's classic, people. It's classic. Let me just get this. Actually, I need to do this, and I need to do this. That's what I need to do. Let's get it going. Okay. So this is a very classic quilt. Let me get small. Hang on. Oh, and somebody asked, Auntie Sin asked, help, I'm small. Auntie Sin asked about, is the on-screen video thing gonna be a feature where we can get cake on screen sometimes, we can get biscuit on stream sometimes, and Hannah, my sister, who's gonna do a show this month with me, can be on screen. Yes, we totally will. The guest chat feature, we learned that actually not a lot of people got that early. Not all the streamers even have that feature. We were handpicked by someone, we don't know who, to test that. So we're gonna do it, but this morning, because I'm feeling so bad, Stephanie and I didn't get on early to test it, to do the tech check on that. So it will definitely come back, and tomorrow night we're gonna get that going. So yes, that is a feature that is gonna be part of the show. Yeah, Susan R. Michael says, my older kid just said that there are also hot tub streams. Yeah, that's a category. That's a category on Twitch, the hot tub stream category. It's crazy. I mean, I can't wait to look at that. I would love to do a quilt nerd show from a hot tub. Probably a bad idea. Anyway, so Marie Webster, okay, what's going on here? I better get going before I do lose my voice. So Marie Webster wrote this book, which is, I mean, it's canonical in the Quilt Nerd library. Quilts, Their Story and How to Make Them. Marie D. Webster. America's first quilt book, they call it. It was written in... damn. Well, let's see. This is the 75th anniversary in 1990. 1990, this edition came out and it was the 75th anniversary. So it was, oh Lord, see, this is what I've got a bunch of books open. In Marion, Indiana, the Quilters Hall of Fame is located there, and it's at Marie Webster's home. So the home that she lived in is the Quilters Hall of Fame museum, and where people have their exhibits and things like that, who are inducted into the Quilters Hall of Fame. And Marie Webster was just this force of nature. I mean, she wrote this book, Quilts, Their Story and How to Make Them. What was the year on it, Cake? Do you have it? Let's see, somebody might have, hang on. No. Okay. Oh, that's
I want to say it's like, is it 1929 or 1930 something?
Yeah. Marianne Tea Cake, hi to all my UK people. It's great to know that you're here, right? So anyway, so the Quilters Hall of Fame book, I don't know if there's a new one out, but there might be. Quilters Hall of Fame. It's Marie Webster and her daughter, Rosalind Webster Perry, are these legendary names, right? Rosalind Webster Perry helped make all of the Quilters Hall of Fame stuff happen. And Marie Webster, I mean, she made these quilts. She was an entrepreneur. She sold quilt kits. She was just really a pioneer in the quilt industry, frankly. And this quilt is a Marie Webster quilt. It's called French Basket, and it was designed and sold. This one is 1940. So throughout the 40s, certainly, we'll do a whole segment on Marie Webster at some point. Obviously, it's kind of crazy we haven't done it yet, but she had a thriving business, and she, there's a beautiful picture of her I'm thinking of. So when we do a full Marie Webster show, we'll take a look at her in depth. Do you remember the quilt that was featured in When Harry Met Sally? That was a Marie Webster quilt. Windblown Tulips was the name of that quilt. I think it was a background or intro quilt before, at some point before. But this one I really thought was interesting. I mean, it's unusual, right? So this would have been a kit quilt that she would have sold, I think the shapes there in those repeating, in the blocks, the not basket blocks. Very cool. One of the things we do here on Quilt Nerd, we're going to watch a video a little bit later. We're going to look at some amazing art quilts. Oh my God, from this woman, Dinah Prentice, who's a UK lady. But we analyze quilts here, because we're nerds about it. Not everybody who watches the show makes quilts, but a lot of us do. And this one I wanted to look at because, look at that, this pink curly Q type thing. That's some intense stuff right there. It looks like bias tape, right? Would it have been? I don't know. A kit quilt, you'd have, I don't know. Hey, Hope. Yes, I love the quilting in the alternate block too. So you have that. Going on, as well as this curly Q thing. The quilting is pretty intricate. You've got like this daisy right in the middle. And for those watching who might not know, a quilt is 3 parts. It's 3 layers. There's the top, And the top of the quilt is like the design of it. So this pink and white and these baskets and these flowers, you make the top first. So it's a big piece of fabric and you're appliquing on. These flowers are appliqued. The French, from the French, apply, right? Appliquer. My friend Jenny Smith in Yorkshire says applique, but not with a French accent. Applique. But anyway, she says applique. So you do patchwork, which is sewing patches together, right? Or you could do applique, and this quilt features both. And that's the top, and then you put in the filler, right? The batting or wadding, and then you put a piece of fabric on the back. And it's not a quilt until it's quilted. And so this that you see, this design here, this flower, and it's repeated 4 times, right, in the corner of these blocks, that's the quilting. And so quilts are really wonderful because you have 2 ways to design. You know, I mean, paintings don't offer what quilting offers, what a quilt can offer in terms of making art, right? Because you have this secondary design option. And it can be very simple and it can be very complicated. But this is pretty complicated. I mean, you've got straight lines going through and you've got that flower. So, I mean, to me, like, don't be fooled, right? This sweet little quilt, this pink and white flower basket thing. There's a lot going on here. And yeah, I love it. I think it's great. Kenny, I owe you a text message. It was wonderful to meet you. And we dined together. We ate really good Mexican food, I thought. It was really good. Bias tape, Marianne says for sure. Chenille, interesting. Yeah, amazing, my great cats. Hey, everybody. Oh, it's good to see you. So, Word and Bernard, hi. Raffle. Okay, so that's that, all right? And then these are just some really fun things, just from my folder of Fascination. Hang on, I have got to do that. I can't. I should do like an alert, you know, like drink water. Got to wet the whistle. This is from a book, from Uncommon Threads. Oh yeah. Doesn't matter so much, but look at this guy. Doesn't he look great? He looks great. He looks so great. Oh, L Riggs, hi. Yeah.
He is rocking those half square triangles. I'm assuming that's knitted.
Yes, it's got the knitted parts and then these quilted parts. I think he looks so nice. Like he looks great, but he looks like a nice guy. Look at this hair. I love this hair. I mean, are you kidding me? Amazing. Dapper. He is. He's groovy, man. I don't know the year. Hang on. I think I could find it. I didn't tell Kate that I was going to use this book, so I'm not going to tell you which book. I'm just going to skip it. But hang on. Well, it doesn't matter. It's the 80s, right? It's totally the 80s. I like it. I'm seriously into this 1980s quilt fashion. I really am. Okay. And then I wanted to show you this because this is a piece of art. These are just little things, right? I like doing these little things. This is a piece of art by an artist, Colleen Merrill. Pardon me. And it's Colleen Merrill. I'm going to put it in here. Colleen Merrill. I'm pretty sure. I think it's just one L. .com is her website. And she's using quilts in her art. So this is not what it seems here from Colleen Merrill. Look at that. Whoa. Interesting. Very interesting. This piece is called Mustered Up Quilts from Kentucky, 2022. And you know, this idea of using old quilts in art, you know, it's to me it's very interesting. I have different feelings about it than when people use quilts for clothes. But I mean, I think this is a piece that I don't mind. I mean, I not that it's not about the old quilting, but like I think I like this piece. You know, I have to look at it longer, but I think that's a compelling idea. You know, this hole in the middle. I think it's compelling. Cake, do you like it?
I agree, but I agree because, you know, I cut up my own quilts to make stuff, and my like ones I've actually made.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about a beautiful old quilt that like those still have a little life in them. Like, and I look at that and I'm like, yes, I know it's art, but oh.
Yep. I know. We someday we'll just talk about that, right? Talk about this, Sanford Biggers, and a lot of people are using old quilts in art, and what does that mean? How do we feel? I have no idea why that's doing that. It's asking me to sign in for Twitch. Everything's okay, right, Cake, on your end? Suddenly I can't see the chat, but let me do that. Anyway, so until then, I can't see the chat right now. Look at this. Let me hide the chat here for a second. It's John Lewis. It's John Lewis in a picture with a quilt on him. Isn't that great? That's it.
I think that's 2 quilts.
Yes, it is. It is 2 quilts. It's an H quilt, and it's a beautiful, something else that looks much newer than the other one. Oh, it's an American flag. Look. Oh, you see? There's a star back there. Hang on. You see? So that's like a patriotic kind of thing. But it's John Lewis. Good old John Lewis. Hang on one second. What's going on? Oh, yeah, here. Okay. So yeah, just gaze upon John Lewis while I do this. Sorry guys, I don't know why I did that. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's totally good. I have to tell you, I'm not sure where I found this picture. LauraFisher.com, that quilt dealer who passed away. I'm so good at naming my files, aren't I? Sometimes. So that's John Lewis. And then, yeah, that's it. Those are just those little bits I wanted to share with you. John Lewis, rest in power, right? Rest in peace, rest in power. So let's go to this art quilter, okay? Because this stuff is like, wow. I'll leave the chat off for a little bit. We can kind of do halvesies with the chat until I figure out some stuff. I did meet a really cool guy who said he could help me with some of those technical things, but we're going to be switching our operating system soon enough. So I'll wait a little bit on that. But I saw this quilt in, where did I see it? In a one of those exhibit books I picked up at AQSG. One second, let me do this. And I was like, whoa. This is so cool, I mean, this is like the coolest. And I had to bring it to you and show you, right? 698-355, hang on. 698. Great. So Dinah Prentice, DinahPrentice. And we're going to learn about Dinah Prentice. This quilt is called Molesworth Mon Amour. It was made in 1983. And I'm back in the chat, y'all. So what's happening here, Dinah? What is going on? She's Northampton, England, by the way. Is Nosda Quilts here? I hope so. I miss y'all over there in the UK. Anyway. Here's what I have for you. And the text that I'm reading comes from the Fine Art of Quilting book, which we have an Abe Books affiliate link for. We are Abe Books affiliates around here. And another thing we learned at TwitchCon. You guys, I got to get some sponsors. It's time to get sponsors. Abe Books ought to be sponsoring this show. I mean, come on. So we're going to work on that. Here we go. Let's look at some of Dinah Prentice's quilts and read about her as we do. Don't have a measurement on that, but I will later. Hang on. Nope. Okay. Dinah Prentice, this is the introduction, and then we hear from her. Dinah Prentice began by making traditional quilts. and has in recent years developed her work to include techniques and images from her earlier time as a painter. Ho ho ho, look at that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Her quilts are large and powerful and include many references to her political and philosophical beliefs. This is made in 1978. It is 108 by 120 inches. A number of her quilts that we'll see are like 7 feet by 9 feet. Big. I'm going to zoom in on this too, but seeing the full thing is important, right, with this quilt. So now let's hear from Dinah. And this was published in the 90s, this book. So, you know, when she's talking about her practice, it's probably changed a little. And we actually know that it has, but I'll get there. So Dinah says, quote, I started by making traditional quilts, which were separate from the collages and paintings I produced. And let me just say, because we can do this, consider this quilt, okay? And this one. And consider the quilt we started with. I mean, this is why we do this stuff. This is why. Because quilts are endlessly interesting. They're endlessly fascinating as art objects, as cultural study. You know, it's like, wow, what happened between 1940 and 1978? A lot, you know, a lot with the format. Okay, back to Dinah. Sorry, I really missed my soundboard. Okay. Quote, the first quilt I made was for my daughter. We were living in the country, come back, at the time. It was winter, and we were all very cold. I needed to make some money, so I started producing quilts to sell in various shops. The quilts got larger and larger, 6 feet, 7 feet, which is 1.8 to 2.5 meters, as I learned to handle huge spaces. They were tough and brown and structural, yet contained this wonderful softness, this wonderful density, and an enormous amount of work. I kept looking for different ideas. For example, I made a block using the positive, negative image of Arab tiles of birds, in which both shapes are absolutely identical. But I had the feeling that I was just dredging around for ideas. I thought I would try making a quilt out of my collages. Wait a second, is that the same? I think this is, this is the same quilt, but with a different, I'm going to show it because it's got a different contrast. I mean, it's a different photograph. And it's kind of interesting to see it this way too. I mean, it looks like computer chips or something. I mean, it looks like a motherboard somehow. Anyway. I thought I'd try making a quilt out of my collages and do in quilting what I had done in my large-scale paintings. There's a quote from Robert Rauschenberg, quote, what gets an artist out of his chair is a mixture of thoughts, unquote. And that's what got me into my studio, sticking big pieces of paper together and working out grids. I knew I wanted to sew, and I knew I wanted that soft quality, unquote. I want to pause here and say that I haven't read this before, this text, and and that's what this show is an exploration with you, not a lecture or something. My collages, as I had always had to do, oh, look at this one. It's called Perspectives. Oh my gosh. Hey, we've got tier 1 sub gifts. L Riggs, oh my God, thank you so much. L Riggs is gifting subs.
And also a reminder to drink some water, Mary.
Oh, yes, thank you. L Riggs, thank you so much. That's so great. Reese and Quilts Eventually and Flying Peace and Quilter462 and Hero Co. Listen, L Riggs is a quilt nerd. She's a OG quilt nerd. And gifting those subs gives you a subscription to the show for a month. After that, you hopefully will choose to subscribe again. When you are a subscriber to Quilt Nerd, you get stuff. And if you go to the Quilt Nerd, twitch.tv/Quilt Nerd, and then go to the About tab, you'll see what you get at the different tiers of subscriptions. When you're a subscriber, you get entered into the giveaways. And this month, we're giving away this puzzle, this wonderful puzzle, donated by a quilt nerd The green screen makes it look weird. This wonderful puzzle. It's 300 pieces, and Stephanie Cake made these. Oh, that looks really bad. These wonderful fans. Oh, green screen. I don't know how to fix that. See, I can put it to the side.
They're a little bit cuter than that.
Yeah, they're super cuter than that. Here's the backside. So you're gonna get one of these. She made 3. I'm keeping one for sure, but perhaps another quilt nerd will get another one. So we're giving that away. So you can only enter this. Your name only goes into the pot if you're a subscriber. So you gotta subscribe. And now all of you have a gift subscription from Elrigs. Lisa, you're the best. Thank you. So, yeah, and you get other stuff too. Check out the About page and you'll see. Okay, and keep watching the show. That would be the best thing. So I brought them to TwitchCon, Kenny, and then I mean, they wouldn't fit in the bag. You could only bring that small bag. Okay. Anyway, Deirdre, quote, my collages had always been to do with edges and to do with lettering. We used to live in a village miles from anywhere, and my children were supposed to do the paper round. But the papers seemed to come after they went to school. So Mother took the round. The bag was marked Coventry Evening Telegraph, printed in black on white canvas. What pleasure the edges of the lettering gave me. We'll come back to that one. So now we start to see what her quilts are kind of based on, is the space between. About the same time, I saw an image of a red guard in China writing messages on enormous bits of paper. Show you this. That filled half the junction of main roads that went off into the distance with no towns, no trees, no nothing. Just bare. It was surreal. Chinese image, okay. Another image came from a Donatello relief. So see, she's putting paper down, I believe. So Donatello was part of her thing. So there's a little bit more about that. But the first quilt, which seems to bring me many of these ideas and images together, is A4. And A4 is what we looked at originally, this. A4. That's a quilt, man. I mean, it's huge, right? 1981. I think I've got, yeah. It was a great emotional effort to make this quilt. Outside was the village, the fete, coffee mornings, everybody still thinking I was making my traditional quilts. Inside, I was doing something which I didn't understand myself. Subconsciously, I was revealing a lot of the things that I thought and felt. So I had found structure, which was able to hold me for the first time. A4, this quilt, was a radical change. I was shocked by it because it had everything in it I wanted to say. This is a Quilt Church moment. A4 started with a drawing of a page of lettering. I had to make a grid and enlarge it. Here's another quilt I want to just show. It's a little bit later, 1985. I had to make a grid and enlarge it. I cut a bit, I ended up with a full-scale drawing of A4. Then I cut a bit out of it, put it on my table, and worked out how to cut the shapes in fabric, because I'd only manage a T-junction on the sewing machine. I love this quilt. We'll look at that again, but this is the one she's talking about. Each time I sewed the shapes together and put the bit I'd sewn back in place of the drawing. Does that make sense? Yeah, I can see. I'm going to read that part again. So I had to make a grid and enlarge it. A4, this quilt, started with a drawing of a page of lettering. I had to make a grid and then enlarge it. I looked for a video, by the way, but there's nothing on YouTube about her. I ended up with a full-scale drawing of A4, this quilt. I then cut a bit out of it, out of the drawing, put it on my table, and worked out how to cut the shapes in fabric, because I could only manage a T-junction on the sewing machine. A straight seam, I think she means. Each time I sewed, let's see, down here I see the lettering, don't you? I mean, that kind of seems like I see like a B, you know, there's like a B and an A maybe. Each time I sewed the shapes together and put the bit I'd sewn back in place of the drawing. A lot of what I do is informed by my painting experience, the knowledge of what painting is and art history. This one here. This is called Molesworth Monomore, yeah. I'm fascinated by the aesthetics and technicalities of making space. Let's see. Oh, in perspective drawing, I wanted to make space. So I decided to tip the plane of the drawing, dropping it down to create perspective, hence the name. Look at this. Look at the piecing up here. This is crazy. This is just wild. I mean, let me zoom in more. It's strip piecing, but like, I mean, it looks like, not like ruffles, but yeah. Yeah, Marianne Tea Cake says, and this is totally before the modern quilt movement took hold of my imagination in 2009. Oh, yeah. I mean, this is 1980, you know, early 1980s. Hey, Pam. Yay. Okay. Oh, wow. Check this out. You're going to love this. Similar to A4's connection with lettering. Hang on, let me zoom out just a second. Oh. Come on, come on, come on. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Boom, boom. Oh, why do you do that? Sometimes you do that. Hold on, I gotta do that. Then I gotta do this. Then I gotta do this. No. No. Hang on. Yeah, okay, great. Perspective drawing was originally done from punctuation marks. I mean, what? Oh, yeah, I see him. Look, this quilt rules. You see, like that's a period, you know, and a comma like over here. So groovy, man. So totally groovy. I'm super into it. Yvonne, hi. I mean, I said hi before, but. For a previous quilt, I had shaded in the different tones of the pattern. I wanted to put this effect on my next quilt. The local art shop suggested a spirit-based ink for drawing on silk. So in perspective drawing, there are large pieces of silk that I have drawn on and then cut and used. In Molesworth, I know we keep looking at the same quilts, but I think that's okay now that we're learning about them, right? The story of Molesworth Monomore. I had a paper bag. I love this. From the Tate Gallery. And it was the red lettering on the bag that attracted me.
Oh,
that was weird. I don't know what that, yeah, it sounded like a man.
Sorry, that was me.
Okay.
The cake was at it again.
Oh, you know what? I had a paper bag. Okay, I cut the lettering up, arranged it, and made a collage. I then photocopied it. I started to paint the photocopies, but as I was painting, ideas came together. I had seen a newspaper photograph of women pinning things to the fence at Greenham Common. Those are Molesworth and Greenham are American air bases in England, where there are women's peace camps. Interesting. At first I thought it was a mawkish, sentimental thing to do, but obviously it must have become etched into my thinking process, and in fact, I'm entirely in sympathy with what they're doing. I drew and painted the grid onto the photocopy, and then of course the grid became a wire mesh. Ooh, look at that. That's what that is up at the top. Fascinating. I found myself painting a dead gray across that. I feel emotionally about this sliding white gray. This gray which is neither white nor black, which has something to do with people who won't make up their minds whether they are or for or against important issues. I started to paint yellow on the background. This was the constant dialogue going on in my head between emotion and technique. Wow. Yeah. So, okay, let's show this. This is called, wow, look at this. Hold on. Catalonia Stomp. I have just a few more of hers, but this looks like a painting. I mean, but it's, what's happening here? Is that a quilt? Because she's a painter too. What is happening?
That
here?
totally looks like a painting or a collage.
I know.
I'm wondering if she painted her fabrics or something.
Here, let me see here. That's just throwing me at you guys, because that, I mean, is it silk painted? Okay, hang on. Well, it doesn't say. It doesn't say how. Hold on. I mean, what do you think, y'all? I mean, it would be, are the colors of the Catalonian flag? I will betcha. But see, there's nothing else about it in this book. Wait. No, it is a quilt. It's a quilt. It's a quilt. It's a quilt. It's totally a quilt, you guys. And look, there's another one. This is called Doorway. And it's reversed. I left this not cropped out of the book because Doorway, it's 6 feet by 8 inches. Well, 6 by 8 times 4 by, sorry. Yeah, 6 feet, 8 inches by 4 feet, 10 inches, made in 1986, a powerful response to the war in Lebanon. It's called Doorway. The painting shown underneath the quilt on the same theme was completed first. So yeah, here's a painting. That's a painting. It's not double-sided. That's a painting. And this is a quilt. And look, now you can see the textiles. That's like a sateen or something. Doorway is one of Susan Michael's favorites. Wow. Wow. Look at that. This look at this shape here. That looks like a Paul Klee or something. This is wild, y'all. I love her. I love her stuff. I'm into it. She's so, and we've said this before, it's artists talking about what they do in a very articulate way. I'm not saying artists aren't, that's not meant to be like a negative, but it's hard to talk about art, It's hard. It's like she's talking about, I like to make space, the spaces in between, she just talks she talks about her art in a way that it's like, oh, cool, yeah, I can see that. And I don't think that's a skill everybody has. Look at the piecing here. Amazing. So great. So great. Okay, so that's what's going on. That's what's going on with Deirdre. Here's one more. This is a more recent piece. This is from a series called Mountain Rescue Helicopter Gunship. Oh, no, sorry. From a series called Weapons and the Degradation of Life on Earth. And it was made more recently, 1993. And this piece is called Mountain Rescue Helicopter Gunship. Interesting. Definitely the quilting is prominent. Silky binding, totally. Hey everybody, I got a little note to remind everybody to follow. If you haven't followed Quilt Nerd yet, hit that follow button and get notifications when we go live. We'd love to have you if you're a lurker. Oh, I have something. I have a giveaway. I have a giveaway on the fly. That's right. I'm gonna do it tomorrow night. I'm gonna do it tomorrow night on the show, 8 o'clock. I got this pin. It's green, damn it. Can I show it like that? No, oh no. It's a pin, look, 70 Juiciest, it's a pin that says lurker. It's like a pin. I'll take a picture. One of those
cute buttons.
And it says lurker. And so tomorrow night, if there's somebody in the lurker lounge who wants this pin and a little note from me, and maybe a little some other goodie, if you've never chatted and you're in the lurker lounge tomorrow night at 8 o'clock ish, if you chat and say hello, I'll send it to you. That's right. It's from TwitchCon. Nobody gets that, but you do. If you say hi for the first time. So yeah. So she's politically, driven, doing all that. So yeah. Great. Deirdre, good job. Love it. Super into your stuff, girl. And so now, because I can't believe I can't go, but I'm telling you, my head is killing me, and this voice, right? Terrible. Oh yeah, hold on. I'm gonna do one quick thing. We're gonna watch a 14-minute video about quilt makers in Gee's Bend, because I can't go to San Francisco. Oh my God, now I'm gonna cry. I can't go to San Francisco and meet one of the Petway family members. I was gonna have dinner with her in Joe Cunningham's house, you know? No problem. It's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, I'll just watch Say Yes to the Dress or something. Oh my no! But like, if I went, it would be so inappropriate. And then the Petway woman, she would be like, yeah, and that Mary Fonz, she got me sick. What's that? Yeah.
We enjoy you courting a little bit of controversy, but getting one of the Gee's Bend quilters sick or one of their family members would be like, that's the kind of bad publicity Quilt Nerd doesn't need.
No, exactly. I do feel a little warm. Anyway, so yeah, we're not gonna do that. But I'm really mad. So we're gonna watch this this video about Gee's Bend, and I have some problems with this video. I have seen it before. I don't know. We can talk about that after we watch it. But if you're not familiar with the whole Gee's Bend thing, man, it's totally cool. It's totally a thing. Not everybody knows about it. But if you don't know about the quilts that come out of Gee's Bend, Alabama, you should totally stick around and watch this, because it's really powerful. It's a powerful story in the quilt world. Okay, but first, when I was looking for Deirdre, this is funny. It's a real short. We're not watching this whole thing. But I was looking for videos of Deirdre. Sorry, Deirdre. I didn't mean to say that. Dinah Prentice. I might have said Deirdre before. I apologize. I was thinking of Deirdre Amson. Totally different. This was what came up when I searched for her name in YouTube. It doesn't talk about her. There's a painter who's Prentice, David Prentice. I don't actually know maybe they're married. I don't know. But this is a gallery in Birmingham, England. And the guy who you just have to see a few minutes of this video. He's amazing. This is clearly like early 90s, I would say. Just watch. Dare to be different. Oh no, sorry, I sped it up because I couldn't take it. Okay, hang on. Let me put it playback speed, normal. Okay, here we go.
Facing outwards thing, it was very kind of isolated.
Just you'll see. We're gonna watch like a minute
This is
now.
like the Milan of England. So in other words, we can't compete with London as a capital because we're not the capital. But Birmingham itself has its own identity with so much going on. It's got such a underlying buzz. Like Milan. Milan doesn't try to be Rome. Milan is Milan. And Birmingham certainly is Birmingham. We don't even accept this thing called second city. Second to nobody. Birmingham is its own city.
Oh, he's good. You know, he's good. Birmingham's the Milan of England. I mean, he is like, I am an ambassador for Birmingham, England, and I'm going to tell you about it. And what's crazy, he's a gallery owner, okay? But like, okay, just
It's as good as practically any city in the country now, isn't it? I mean, that's what's nice about it. It's a real classy bit of development.
I love it. I love it.
Art, what is it? Is it the picture? Is it the sculpture? Is it an emotion? Is it the feeling? Is it reality? Is it a dream? Let's go into the gallery and find out.
Steph, mute. Steph, you gotta mute. Yeah, because I can hear it through you. I don't know why. Weird. You are muted? That's so weird. Okay. Just one more little bit of this.
The guys who built Brindley Place, called Argent, had this idea to completely change the whole area, knocked it down, rebuilt it. I came along 6 years ago with this idea that Birmingham needed a contemporary art gallery.
Look at his
And
hair.
One stage further,
It's
he said, Midlands-related artists only, because England thinks that the only art happens in London. And I had a bee in my bonnet to prove
The bee in my-
different.
So pick the unlikeliest area to set up a contemporary art
Anyway, he's just like, I'm making a gallery in Birmingham. I just love that. What is art? Is it this? Is it that? Is it that? Okay, thank you. I needed to do it. I just needed to do it. I'm sick. Be nice to me. Be nice to me. All right, here we go. No. Let's watch this bit about Gee's Bend. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Here we go. This is from the New York Times. It was made in 2018. And let's take a look. Bald mullet. Yeah, totally.
Have you ever paid trees any attention? Some of them are light green, dark green, greener green, yellowish green. If you ever pay how the leaves are blowing, they have a glimmer in it. And I call it silver because it be wavy. I don't want nobody to bring me when I'm gone.
And sometime at night, when I'm laying down in the bed, I'm dreaming about something, and I have my pencil and my paper beside the bed, and I just sketch that out on paper.
Horses.
Nobody to bring me when I'm gone.
It's just something to keep your mind occupied, that's all. And then you quilt for your children.
Was I yet live?
Make me a quilt.
Oh, she's using paper. Oh my God, just like Dinah Prentice. Look at that, she's tearing paper. That's so weird. I mean, that's very interesting. Okay.
At first, I wanted to leave home, but then when I got older, I began to like it a little more, and then I began to fall in love with it. The biggest of my challenge was farming. I picked cotton. I didn't like it. No.
I'm gonna put the chat up, you guys, because we're watching this. It's copyrighted material, and I just want to make sure we're transforming. I don't like having the chat over the video, but we need to do it. Okay. And I want people to see what you have to say. Okay.
Not at all. But it was life. We had to do what we had to do to make a living. When my parents finished their farm, then we go over and help our neighbor get their farm. We just worked together. I started cooking at the age of 6. Would you believe that? I was the only girl, but Mom gave all of her brothers a chore in the kitchen. She made them learn how to cook because she told them you might not get a wife, and at least you'll know how to cook.
That's good. Thank you.
Don't that make perfectly good sense?
Yes, it does.
Gee's Bend, Alabama is a rural community. You have to go 50 miles to shop. But to live in a community where everybody knows everybody, that's a good thing. I am Essie Petway.
Everybody call me to Channel Petway. My name is Mary Lee Bendolf.
So Mary Lee Bendolf is she's a very prominent quilter in the Gee's Bend story. Mary Lee Bendolf's quilts in particular, you will see when you're seeing quilts from Gee's Bend, she's sort of always included in those exhibits. And Mary Lee Bendolf has gone on. I have seen her many times having a solo show. So Mary Lee Bendolf, if you are taking names, from this this piece, and then as you look at books and things, and there's one book I have as a reference for you all today that Kate can put in there. Always buy your books through our A Books affiliate link. But you'll see Mary Lee Bendolf's quilts there. But yeah, she's had many solo shows, and I think is one of the quilters who's really pursued that, or she's pursued kind of a solo career.
My real name is Rita May.
Rita May. That's the other woman no, is that right? No. Never mind. Different woman.
Call me Rabbit.
If one not related to the other one related to the other one. And we all know one another. We are kin people.
My mama died when I was 4. And my grandparents, my granddaddy said when I started walking, I just jumped up and went to running. And so that's why they called me Rabbit, because I was so fast.
Rev, okay.
My grandmother taught me how to quilt. It's keep me occupied from doing other things that I might not need to be doing.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Same.
So it like that. That's what you call a house talk.
Padma, you're right. Many of the
I was
Bendolfs.
born and raised here. I went to New York and stayed for 2 weeks, but I came back. And I've been here ever since.
I remember when my mom and my grandmom and their neighbors used to come by to quilt together. And I used to just sit there and look up under the quilt and wonder how they was going up and down with that needle. They wasn't even sticking their fingers, but I said I'd be done stuck my finger to death. But it was real exciting to see that as a child. And I said, when I get older, I'm gonna make me lots of quilts so I can have to keep my kids warm. They would teach us when we was under the quilt, listening to them, praying and talking to God about their children, how they wanted them to grow up and be men's and women's.
Lord, have mercy.
To love their children and to teach them the value of life.
Lord, have mercy.
They understood what it was about family.
There's Mary Lee Bendolf. And I have a file of some of her quilts. So after we look at this, I'll just show you just a few of them. They're wonderful.
My soul.
I love that.
You could feel the love.
Classic kind of G-Spen look, right?
Sometimes you're walking along the highway, you see an old piece of material, wait to pick it up and run home and give it to my mama. You know, she put it in a quilt.
Gotta get some water.
Some of our old blue jeans, and I just took them and cut them up and made this, turned it into a quilt.
Like that denim.
Put the needle on the back there. That's the way you do it. I do all mine on my hand, and so I have a sewing machine, but I use it when I have to use. And then go to stitching.
One thing about the town is that Gee's Bend is, it's from what I understand, it's kind of what they call the area, and it's the bend in the Alabama River. Kind of, it does isolate this particular area a little bit. There's a lot of talk, and I've talked about Gee's Bend a lot, about the mythology about the town sometimes really flattens, in my understanding, and I've read a lot about Gee's Bend quilt makers, the history of it all, the Freedom Quilting Bee, which is never mentioned in this video, by the way, which is why I think it has some problems. But the town is actually Boykin, 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 Alabama. And yeah, Wilcox County, I think her shirt said that. Anyway.
When I'm doing my quilt, my mind is totally into it, and I don't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a peace of mind. You can take time out and talk to God and say thank you. Father,
Juki.
I stretch my hand to thee. Okay, there we go. There we go.
That's how Joe Cunningham quilts his quilts, just like that on her phone.
I get to make the decision of whether I want to put this in there or take it out. And if nobody else like it, so what? It going on my bed. Because
Yes.
it's mine.
Yes.
Sweet old chariot, coming to carry me home. Sweet Lord, chariot, coming to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, what did I see? Oh, coming to carry me home.
When we were young, we worked out.
Sorry, 1 second. So you see the quilt on this woman's bed. It's kind of a trip around the world pattern. And one thing I wanted to mention about the quilts that you see in this video, you know, I'm real tired of, it sounds pretty hostile, but like, you know, people compare improvisationally pieced quilts. And improvisationally pieced quilts, a woman was talking about, she's like, I put this piece here, I put another piece there, I just feel it out, you know? I mean, it's sort of like taken as, you know, just a fact that these kinds of quilts that they make in Gee's Bend are different from traditional quilts. And I think that's problem because in communities like this, and there are many other communities like this, not just Black communities, white communities, all kinds of communities in the United States, this is traditional for them. You know, it's all traditional. You know what I mean? Like, traditional becomes a word that we use to talk about, you know, fancy quilts or quilts that follow very strictly, you know, a piecing pattern that is symmetrical, like the Marie Webster quilt that we saw. You know, is that a traditional quilt? And these quilts are somehow different? Well, they look different, but they're all tradition. They're American tradition. They're traditional American quilts. So that's a distinction that I think over time, I didn't used to think that, or I didn't used to understand that. But as I've gone along, you know, becoming nerdier and nerdier, I think that's really important. You know what I mean, Cake? It's like, this is a traditional American quilt. There's absolutely no difference except the way it looks. And I was reminded, because the quilt on on her bed, you know, is, you know, it's more symmetrical. So you're like, oh, there's a traditional quilt. You know, they also make traditional quilts. It's all traditional. You know what I'm saying? Right? Yeah, you all feel it. You know it. You know it. Yeah, traditional to whom, Pam? Precisely. Precisely. Okay.
When we were young, we worked a whole lot. Shoot. I worked at the school, at the lunchroom. But the rest of the people were working in fields, you know, and picking cotton and stuff like that. We was living on a white man place at that time. We didn't want to live in the same old rut.
Sharecropping, right?
We wanted to move. I did. I know what everybody else wanted to do, but I wanted to do better things.
Pine burr. She's making a pine burr.
When I went to march in the civil rights movement, I didn't know the police and everything was there, taking people to jail, beating them, and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know. I really wanted to become a registered voter. You know, when you become a voter, you could do something. It's okay now, but not like it should be.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
I was always held back because of where I came from, who my mother was, who my father was. But I realized I am somebody. I can do anything that I put my mind to do it.
It make me feel great. I never thought quilting would be in no museum no way.
Never thought a quilt would be in a museum.
Didn't my picture right there.
Yeah.
But this the first year to start. There's my quilt there. There's quilt there.
Bendolf, right? Mary Lee.
And this is Essie. Quilt.
Essie May.
It just was a joy to see it. It just like something just burst open. Because I never thought that quilt would be in artwork.
Look at that. Great. That's big, too. Damn, I love that. It's so good. You ever made a sampler quilt that was just improv put together? I made my friend Sophie one, or I had all these extra blocks, all these from Quilty. From filming Quilty, we had all these sample blocks. I put them all together. I need to find the picture of that. It was really fun.
People would think that was beautiful. That something we done could be shown all over the world and people get joy out of it.
Oh, girl, I just loved it. You can look at a quilt. It can give you a feeling of something. You know, it gives you love. You can see love. You can see peace. You can see joy in different quilts. I just love to see my beautiful quilt hanging up there. And I don't know what happened to them, but...
Did you hear that? There's a lot more to that story.
He asked me, was it all right for him to sell my quilt? I tell him, yeah, because you sent me some money, but he ain't told me nothing else since then.
It'd be Bill Arnett. Oh, that looks a little like Dinah Prentice, right? A little bit of that negative space, you know, that negative space. This is the spaces between the letters, right? That I mean, I see a relationship there. It's fascinating. A visual relationship.
We're going to leave this all behind one day. It's not ours in the beginning. We're just only borrowing it for the time we are here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good primer, you know, to the G's Ben story, but there's a lot more to it. So if you keep watching Quilt Nerd, you'll hear more about it. It's just important, so important to know the whole thing. I don't want to be gross, but I do want to tell you, because I'm supposed to say it. This is my YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. It's important for things. God, ugh. But I'll forget to say it if I don't say it. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot more to it. Let me just show you a couple Mary Lee Bendolf quilts, because I've got them and we've got time. I mean, we usually go about 2 hours and we're just at, an hour and a half. I mean, I don't know. My voice is hanging on, so I kind of want to go some more. Hey, I just missed you. I missed you so bad. I missed you so bad. Okay, let's check this out. It's just some Bendolfs. Yeah, she was pointing to this one. Sorry. Okay. No, you're not doing that. Oh, no, you're not doing that. Sorry, hang on. We're doing that different. Yeah, here we go. So this one, we were looking at housetop variation. So a lot of the books about the G's Ben quilters, and there are many, a lot of them are coffee table books and are quite expensive. If you ever find one used, and they are available on Abe Books. But Cake, what are some of the prices you saw? You were looking at them.
Yeah, the one I think I popped in the chat a little while ago. I think they're averaging like $70.
Yeah.
They're just so popular, and some of them are like you said, like those big hefty books.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any G's Ben books and you want one that's kind of affordable just to look at some of their designs, there is a children's book, and it's only a few pages long, but I'll look for it and pop it in here. But I got it a while back, not realizing it was a children's book, but it was really affordable, and it was so great because it was very simple, and just kind of gave you like a Cliff Notes version.
And by the way, I have one of these big, this one, I mean, the women and their quilts. I mean, this one. So I want to tell you, a nerd some time ago sent me this as a gift, months ago. I mean, yeah, early in the year. And I to say I appreciated it is doesn't quite cover it. This one is sort of, I think, the massive kind of, sort of magnum opus kind of one. It's incredible. It's really, really good. Thank you to the person, and they've been thanked. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot. But Christmas is coming, so if somebody says, what do you want? Get one of these. Very inspiring, very cool. So yeah, Mary Lee Bendolf. This is a later quilt. I put this in one of my slideshows recently in my study center for AQSG. It's called Arrow, and it was made in 2005. Hey, Jay Porter. Yeah. Oh, great point, Jay. I love a lot about the G's Ben story, but I also have mixed feelings. I worry we continue to romanticize and rewrite their story to fit a more comfortable narrative. I couldn't agree more. I mean, yes, thank you. And that's the problem. So one of the women mentioned the civil rights movement. I mean, it's such a huge part of the story that Martin Luther King visited G's Bend, and there were a lot of people in the movement, as they say, who got very active in the civil rights movement, and that led to folks like white folks, for whatever reason they made up, taking the bridge out between the mainland and G's Ben across the Alabama River. They took the bridge out. So it was around that time, right? So maybe they said, oh no, it's not stable or something. They took the damn bridge out. And so it isolated them more. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? But Martin Luther King came to the Bend and talked to them. And the Freedom Quilting Bee was an incredible story. It's as much as part of the G's Ben story. It's more important to the G's Ben story, I think, than Bill Arnett, who discovered their quilts, in the late 90s. And and made them famous by putting a show at the Whitney Museum of Art. And it is important. I mean, I do feel like I've talked about that a fair amount, but it's important to talk about it every time. This idea that these G's Ben quilt makers, were the only quilt makers to make these kinds of quilts, these improvisationally pieced traditional American quilts. And they weren't. There is something special about them, I do think. But, to say they were so isolated is, at best, it's wrong. At worst, it's a lie to help sell quilts. And the romanticism, for sure, of these people making these quilts out of nothing, They just didn't have nothing. Now, you saw the town, economically, it is perhaps not thriving, but I mean, compared to, yeah. So, Jay, I couldn't agree more. And it's so important to say it. Oh, yeah, that's right, Marianne. They took the bridge out to prevent them from being able to vote. Yeah, voter suppression. I mean, it's just disgusting. Mary Kate, hi, Mary Kate. Yes. So, and Mary Kate says, didn't they bring a lawsuit against copyright infringement or something like that? There's several things. And a few years ago, that case in particular, I'm remembering Loretta Petway, I think, don't quote me, I have to look it up. But there was a copyright case brought, but what there also was is a huge problem with the Arnett's. And Bill Arnett and his son, William, were the people driving this G's Bend craze, basically. I mean, these guys made so much money from these quilts, selling these quilts. There was a Whitney exhibit in 2002. The G's Bend quilts were on the postage stamp. I have some postage stamps somewhere. And like Mary Lee Bendolf said, she said, this guy was going to sell my quilts, and I saw some money, and then I didn't see any more. I mean, they were exploited 1,000%. And now, some of them are doing stuff with fashion. The Calvin Klein's son did a thing with them. But it's just, it's an old story, right? That people have been exploited, Black people particularly exploited for their art and their cultural contributions to the American story. Here's Mary Lee. So that's important. And Tracy Von Manley, who's a professor at Northwestern, if you're in the Patchwork and Prose workshop with Quilt Folk, she was just a guest on last week. She's a friend of mine, and she's great. And after she saw my lecture on that had a big piece of this is my myth lecture. It's actually on YouTube. You can check it out. She came up to me and was like, that was really good. You need to lean more into the part of the story where they got screwed over. And I was like, thank you for the tip. She's a professor of African American studies. She has a lot of titles at Northwestern, and she is a quilter, so we love her. She's a quilting professor. It's a good thing to be, right? Anyway. Yeah, so I just really appreciate
not to dwell on the bad parts.
Yeah.
Story, but it's astounding to me how many quilters that credit them as being their inspirations. I mean, Ben Venom is one, major. I mean, he's an incredible quilter, but I mean, this man has shows in Tokyo and all over the world, and he credits them because I think he's from Alabama.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
Yeah, I think
he's from Alabama. But, I mean, this community is still, like so many very small Southern communities, struggling, rural.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart when I heard her say, we don't, this isn't ours, we're just borrowing it. And right. I'm like, oh, yeah, that just like pit in my stomach, Yeah,
totally. And yeah, actually, it's funny. I had something else to show you guys. I'm gonna move over to this real quick. I had something else slotted for the show today, and then I was like, oh, if my voice goes, we should watch a video. But I have this. This is really interesting. I got this book at AQSG, and I don't know if. Oh no, I didn't. No. This is different. I don't think you'll be able to find this. This is a museum catalog from the Cargo, Robert and Helen Cargo, who have both passed away now. They collected art by African Americans down in the South. They were from Alabama. He's the guy I've talked about before who learned how to make a quilt so he could better understand what he was collecting, which I thought was super legit. I spent way too much money on this thing, but had to have it. So there are pictures of the Freedom Quilting Bee folks Hey, wait a second. We got a TwitchCon person. Oh my God, Cannon, hi. Oh my God. Welcome, Cannon, everybody. I'm so glad you came by. It's so great. I loved TwitchCon. I talked about it at the top of the show. I'm super sick. I'm like losing my voice, but now I'm kind of into this husky sound quality. Anyway, this community is great. I am so glad you stopped by, and I hope that you will come by again. Cannon. Oh, those welcome baskets are for you. Welcome baskets in the chat. Okay, I won't, make you feel uncomfortable, but I am so glad you're here. TwitchCon was amazing. So part of the story of the G's Bend quilts, look at this thing. Is this not fabulous? This is not necessarily a G's Bend quilt, but part of the story that never gets told about the Bend and the story is that, hang on, let me open these. During the 60s, there was an initiative by the Farm Security Administration for initiatives to help the G's Bend community, Boykin and the surrounding area, get some economic, to grow the community and get some economic stability in the area. And so the Library of Congress, in the Library of Congress, there's these wonderful photographs that were taken by the Farm Security Administration people of the Bend and of the people there. And so part of what makes me so upset about the Arnett narrative is that they just hammered home over and over, and it became, just common knowledge, right, that the G's Bend area and the people there were totally isolated from society. They were it was like a Garden of Eden kind of thing, that romanticism that Jay was talking about. It's like they never saw anybody else, and it was just this bubble, this sort of utopia, like, black spirituals, in the air, and people, with nothing, but they make this beauty. It was just really othering, right? And it was just really condescending, frankly. Anyway, and is not true, because there was a lot of activity. Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights Movement, and the Freedom Quilting Bee. Sorry, hang on. There's this one. This is the Freedom Quilting Bee, a woman piecing in a machine. And so it's just not true. And the story, the true story is so much better, right, than the other. Let's see. Yes. So Pon was saying, there was money given. The quilt bet was tracked down by Bill Arnett, offered $1,000. Yeah, it would, Padma. It's a really good point. Quilters have been paid for their work, but here's the problem. The quilt that Arnett may have paid $1,000 for, how much do you think he sold it for? And did he give her any of that money? That's the problem, right? Is that there were no, royalties or commissions paid after that. And so by giving that museum attention, by creating that buzz about these quilts, a lot of people made a lot of money, and it wasn't the women who made the quilts ultimately. You know what I'm saying? But it is a good point. And actually, my mom heard some of the quilt makers speak at one point, and there's a lot of people who made these quilts, and there's different opinions, In fact, I think the copyright case that Marianne brought up, and I need to read about it, but the woman who was pursuing that, a lot of people did not like that, right? Because, mom said, some of the quilters said, we're happy. We send our kids to college, This is great. So it's not a monolithic thing. It's not that there's one prevailing opinion. So it's good to point out, Padma, and I'm glad you did. Ultimately, the people who made the most money were, white guys. It's just true. So this is another picture that was taken in the 1960s. A woman sewing quilts for the Freedom Quilting Bee. Very interesting. It's fascinating, really. Yeah, they'd be flipping the quilts, right? Totally. Palma's taken the devil's advocate, right? Didn't he make them famous and create the market for their work? But you know what? And you're saying, people should always be more fair to the artists. Here's the thing, though. In the 1960s, with the Freedom Quilting Bee, they were famous, these quilt makers. Lee Krasner, who was the widow of Jackson Pollock, went down to the Bend. She's one of the most famous artists of the 20th century. And in 1967, she went down to talk to them because she knew about her quilts, about the quilts. This is a different county, but it's just a good example. A little bit later, too, in 1981. Anyway, from that Alabama Quilts book. But they had a contract with Sears. And so quilts from the Bend were being sold in Sakowitz, Neiman Marcus. Diana Vreeland, the editor of Vogue, bought a quilt from the Bend. And so the thing is about the Arnett story, which, by the way, is the story I heard for years until I started looking more deeply. And until, the Arnetts tell the story that they discovered them, that they rescued them, that they saw how good they were. And it's the theory I call the idiot genius or the accidental genius, where quilt makers in particular, not just these women, but quilt makers in particular, make these wonderful quilts, but they're not art until somebody comes along and tells them they are, informs them that they are making great work, great art, And so it is true that, there was some windfall, but like that video that the New York Times made was made in 2018. Like, not a ton of capital there, you know what I mean? For all of the fame and the money that has happened in the world because of the G's Men phenomenon, didn't end up there. You know what I mean, Cake? Feel me?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're really cut off from the world necessarily, but
No.
yeah, Boykin has not changed.
No.
There's, and like I said, there's, a lot of my family's from the Deep South, and there's a lot of little communities like that.
Yeah.
And the reason the Boykin's on the map is because they've got some fabulous quilters, but
Yeah.
there's little communities like this all over the country, and if you're don't come from rural areas or aren't aware of rural areas, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, totally.
And, also, I think that, there was a little bit of white saviorism going on in some of these situations where,
Totally.
Let's be honest.
Yep. And you know what? The thing is, I do want to say, like, one of the things I really want to keep true about this show is that, Podma's pushing back a little bit and saying, like, there is this counterpoint. And I love that. Like, if I say something that y'all disagree with or there's something we're talking about on the show, like, hell yeah. Like, Ivana, I've said this many times, but, Ivana, at some point you were like, there's some opinion I had or something I didn't like. Yeah, I was like, I don't like this quilt. Like, I think this is terrible. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to be mean, Ivana was like, no, having an opinion and having a counterpoint or whatever is, like, important. That's how you know what you like. So I just wanted to say that because that is part of, what Padma brought up and what people are talking about is absolutely part of this whole story is, like, who benefited and people did benefit. I mean, it's like better than nothing kind of thing. Anyway, that's part of the story too. And so I'm just really glad you brought it up because having that dialogue, I mean, we're not going to be true nerds unless we're like, really talking about stuff. Look at this little kid. Oh. And look at these quilts. Great. Oh, look at this is very interesting. What's going on here? Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So true. Follow Quilt Nerd, y'all, if you're not following already. I'm hoping like Kian, and there's going to be more folks from TwitchCon who dropped by. A lot of people followed after the TwitchCon. Anyway, wonderful stuff. A very traditional quilt, right? And so are these, and so are these traditional American quilts for show. Yeah. Yep, indeed. So, okay. So I just don't want to get off the stream, y'all. Don't want to get off the stream. Now that I'm not going on my trip, I don't have to zip over to the airport. Ugh. Anyway. Here's a question for the chat. Does anybody know of any shows or anything coming up in the quilt world that you want to let us know about? I will tell you, the thing I was going to go to is there's this gallery opening of 12 quilts from G's Bend at Joe Cunningham's studio. I can get the address for it, in San Francisco, in his gallery. And Joe Cunningham, by the way, in that Craft in America thing we have never watched, we have to watch, he's got a good relationship with people down in the Bend. And not all the people who are involved in that world are bad guys, really. Father Francis, who got the quilts to New York in 1960s, is great. You know, he's a hero. Joe Cunningham is salt of the earth, great guy, and so he's got his mind right on it all. So yeah, it's not all bad. Let me find this. Yeah.
So Mary, is that show at Joe's? I mean, is that like a private thing? Is it an invite only? Can anybody go?
Actually, you know what? So the show will be up. Yeah, it might be an opening party that's private. It's true. Loretta Petway.
But they will be hung for a while.
Yep.
Like it is a show.
Yep. So okay, here we go. I've got information. Opening party. Yeah, okay, hang on one second. I'm not sure if that's private, but here we go. Joe is going to make a video. Here, I'll just read what he said. I'm having an opening party Sunday at my gallery for the 8G's Ben quilts I'm lucky enough to be able to be showing, thanks to the mighty organization power of Reader Romeu, R-O-M-E-U. Loretta Petway Bennett will be our guest speaker for the opening event on Sunday, October 16th, 3 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. I'll get Loretta to give her talk at 5. I'll make a video and put it on my YouTube channel, The Quilt Report. Please go subscribe to Joe Cunningham's YouTube channel, The Quilt Report. The show will be up October 16th through November 6th. Hours will be 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm going to copy this and paste it with the address here. At Joe Cunningham Quilts Gallery on Market Street. And I'm going to put that in the chat, all that he just said about the show. There you go. Yeah. So the Quilt Report is great. Hey, Kim. Where's Kim at? I just saw Kim. Why do I not see Kim in my... Oh, because she's watching on YouTube?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Kim is on, or you're either on YouTube or Facebook. I know we've got a couple folks joining us from the multi-streams.
I'm so glad you're here, everybody. The best thing you can do is tell somebody about Quilt Nerd. Really hope you do. If you like the show today, which I think was pretty good. I mean, I just am so happy to be back. What else can I show you? Why don't I dip into the folder of Fascination? I don't know. Cake, you might have other things to do. Okay, good. Me neither. I don't know. I just want to show.
Better to do than to be here.
I know. Like, it's way more fun. It's way more fun to be here. Okay, let me grab something else. I'm just gonna do it. Listen, if you got to dip, you got to dip. It's no problem. Oh, okay. Now people have got some stuff. So Lady Quilt says Annabelle Wrigley of Little Pincushion Studio, fabric designer for Wyndham Fabrics, has a show at Alma's Gallery and Shop in Richmond, Virginia through November. I love it. So you know what? I'm going to run to the ladies' room real quick and figure out what I'm going to show you. So Cake, I'm going to go to a cake break and you entertain the people, okay?
Okay.
I'll be right back with something really fun. Oh, actually, I think I know what to do. Okay, I'll be right back. And I'm going to put on my mask to go to the bathroom here in the office. Okay, BRB.
Oh gosh, guys, I guess I could talk about TwitchCon more. From the perspective of, I think people probably got tired of me saying, I'm not a streamer, I just help produce a show. I think I've maybe been convinced to maybe do a little streaming myself. I have to learn the new software that I'm forcing Mary to pick up because you guys know, I mean, you've been around. We sometimes have some technical difficulties, and some of them are that human stuff, but also, we've just realized that the software that Mary uses to kind of plug into Twitch, it's got some limitations and it's got some funky stuff it does. And so what our plan is very soon is to switch over to a different software, and you'll be able to see some kind of cool new things that we can introduce, kind of fun things, and I can sort of help a little bit. And okay, DeMarie, please stream. I will probably not do a whole lot on quilt history and whatnot, but I have some ideas about some stuff to do, and I'll let you guys know. I mean, and I'm not trying to advertise myself, but I'll let you guys know if I start streaming, so you can pop in and give me some ideas. So as I was walking around, there were times when Mary and I, we sort of tried to, and Kenny, we sort of tried to sort of divide and conquer and each go to different workshops and sort of walk around and look at things. And it just blew my mind, some of the things that people are doing, you know, because I really, you know, had it in my head that there was, you know, all these gamers, and a lot of them are realizing that, I mean, again, I'm not a gamer, so, but I think with the volume of people that joined Twitch over the pandemic and started doing stuff, a spin-off. Yeah, I'll be like a spin-off. It'll be that spin-off where you're like, oh, this wasn't as good as the original. But, you know, so many people joined Twitch and started gaming, you know, because, you know, if you're stuck at home and you like games, gaming is a great way to spend your time. And so, you know, a lot of people, oh, yeah, I can maybe talk about that a little bit. It's a little bit of a sore subject with TwitchCon. But just, I mean, again, I was just so blown away. And I think if somebody says, oh, hey, I'm a gamer and this is my first time and I'm going to jump on Twitch and I'm going to build this giant following, I don't know that gamers can do that anymore. And, you know, I mean, again, not a gamer, so I can't really speak for their community, but so many people are moving to doing like these in real life things, and these, you know, they're still gaming, but they're adding in all kinds of interesting things that they do in their own lives, like painting and printmaking and carving. And I mean, we just saw so many awesome things that people were doing, you know, with their hands. Or I met a guy who does poetry readings on Twitch. I mean, it's just amazing, just absolutely amazing. So, yeah, real quick, the thing about the foam pit, I mean, you guys can Google it. I won't do like a whole lot, but there was
go ahead and talk so I can pull up this next thing. Do it.
Yeah, she's a streamer. So these foam pits, basically they're, you know, if you've ever seen like, cake recipes, yes, of course. A cake show would have to have recipes.
Oh, yeah. You got to do a show, though.
Yeah, I told them that I'm not trying to advertise, but I might start streaming. I mean, I'm gonna have to try out OBS stuff. So
you gotta do it.
But yeah, they have. So a foam pit is like, if you've ever seen like American Ninja Warrior, like those kind of things where they're battling each other, they're like up on a pedestal and they kind of knock each other over. Well, there were these foam pits that they would fall into, but the foam pits were not deep enough. And from what I understand, they typically would have those things like on a sort of a trampoline type floor. You know, like if you've ever seen like wrestling, like professional wrestling, you know, they fall down, like, yeah, it's gonna hurt, but it's like a trampoline kind of thing, so there has some give. Well, apparently none of those foam pits were not built on those things like they were supposed to be. And the girl that she's an adult performer, actually. I didn't realize that till I got home. But she also streams, and she sort of did a celebration jump off of one of these pedestals and landed on her rear end. Broke her spine in 2 places. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it was a very bad injury, but it also sounds like she's probably gonna be okay. And
it wasn't like a Twitch pit. It was the Lenovo. It wasn't like Twitch organizers,
it was
you know,
Lenovo,
which is important to
Intel.
know.
Yeah, and so. But I mean, just to get her medical bills paid, I would imagine she's probably going to have to do a little lawsuiting, and that's the unfortunate. You know, it was negligence in my opinion.
Yeah, totally.
We didn't see it happen. We only heard about it. But yeah, it was unfortunate. It did put kind of a stain on TwitchCon for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
Got a lot
I
of
hate
press,
that because
right?
it really was an amazing event.
It was amazing. So thank you, Cake. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, and one last thing. I took a bunch of pictures and some video, and it might be like next week later, but I am going to put together Cake's journey for you guys, so you'll have a video.
I love it. Oh, and let me show you one thing. So we're going to watch another video. I'm going to play it. I mean, I got to go home and go to bed. I can't do much work today. So like this is what I'm going to do today. You know what I mean? So let's see. Somebody who's going on the trip tonight that I can't go on just sent me a get well soon message, and now I'm gonna cry. Anyway, but there's a couple things. Actually, I have a request for you all. I have a request. Let me get big. Hello. A couple things. First of all, Stephanie passed along an important message to me. She passed it on twice actually, but now I can actually do something about it. We made these bookmarks. I made them actually for, look, bookmark. Keep quilts weird. Wow, my nails look really bad. It's the filter. Keep quilts weird, and they're reversible. So they're black on one side and white on the other. Aren't they great? So we took them to QuiltCon. That's funny. There's a QuiltCon and a TwitchCon. There's not one for both of them yet. And so I brought these with me. I made them for Birmingham, but they came too late. Not my fault. And I handed them out to some people. Cannon, you might have gotten one if you're still here. And they were so distinctive because guess what? Nobody brings bookmarks to TwitchCon. Not a lot of bookmarks handed out. So yeah, and I don't know, Stephanie was talking a little bit about the Quilt Nerd, presence at TwitchCon, but like, we got something special going on here, y'all. Because when I would tell people about the show, they, without to a man, or a woman, or a friend beyond the binary, right? They were all like, oh, cool. Like, wow. Like, that's such a cool niche. It wasn't like, and I told this to Stephanie yesterday. When I told people about Quilt Nerd at TwitchCon, every single person was like, that's amazing. When I've told people in the quilt world about Quilt Nerd on Twitch, I've gotten way more like, what? Like, what are you doing? So interesting. But the Twitch people were like, that's amazing. And the quilt people are like a little bit less receptive sometimes.
I felt like it was a weird flex when I said to somebody, oh, let me give you our thing we brought. It's weird. It's probably the only one you'll get at TwitchCon. And people were like, yeah, we've seen some weird stuff. And I'm like, you have not seen a bookmark.
Nope. Haven't seen a bookmark.
Like, oh yeah, I have not seen a bookmark.
Amazing. Okay, and then also I want to point out, oh yeah, totally. Meg Cox, go to Burning Man, I love it. So the bookmarks, exactly. So Mother Nature. So Stephanie told me folks are really interested in the bookmarks. So we're figuring that out, what we want to do. Like Kay was asking about getting a file so she could print some, which is awesome. So we'll figure that out. If you want bookmarks, I mean, we're just not at a place where we can sell them. Is that true? I don't know. I'll figure it out. But they're made by Vistaprint. And they're beautiful. They really did a great job. So we'll figure out how people who want some can get some. You know what I mean? For it, like 200 of them or something. Like one day we'll be able to put them in the shop and sell them. But if you want bookmarks, if you're like, okay, how do I get some? Email quiltnerdshow@gmail, and Stephanie's working on it, right?
quiltnerdshow@gmail, or you guys know where to find me in the disco.
Yeah.
But if you're not in the disco, email the Gmail, and we'll work it all out.
Great.
Yeah, we want to get the bookmarks out to people that want to learn about the show.
Totally. And a couple other things real quick. Not real quick, whatever. We're on the show. We're talking about the show. Something very cool happened. We put it in the disco, which is our Discord. Y'all know about that. If you subscribe, you get access to the disco, and it's really good. It's where the community hangs out, right? People know about Discord at this point in the world. So we put this link in the disco, but Stephanie, will you pop it in the chat, the Threadless thing? So Threadless is where we do our merch, and we have things in the shop that you should check out. Quilt Nerd Show on Threadless. But a few months ago, I submitted to be featured in the Threadless blog. They said, show us pictures and describe your creative space. And most of the people who use Threadless are artists, like visual artists. So I was like, it's a long shot. But I did the thing. I filled out the application, or I submitted my creative workspace to the Threadless blog, and they said yes. They put me in there, and they chose my entry. And there's entries from all over the world. I forget how many there are. There's not more than 12. Right?
I want to say it was 8 or 10 in the blog post you're on, and I don't know if they were doing a second round or not. I wasn't sure if they were going to talk about something else.
Yeah, exactly. Someone from Mexico, another Chicagoan. But anyway, that was really cool. So between TwitchCon and that, we got some promos out there. Yeah, and please buy some merch. People were into it. Marianne, that's an interesting idea. So, a CR code linking it to the merch store on the bookmark. That's a good idea. I want to thank the person.
I've had that on my list, Mary. We haven't talked about reprints yet.
Yeah, we got to do it. That's a good idea. I want to thank the person who sent this anonymously. from the Amazon wish list. I didn't even tell you about this cake. It came right before I left. This is a light that is so extraordinarily helpful for when I'm traveling and taking the show with me. The gear that I have to pack to take the show on the road is intense, it's heavy. The lights are a big part of that. So I put this on the Amazon wish list, and Steph, if you could throw the link up there for that, that would be amazing. And someone sent it. And someone also sent the book stand, which I need to finish putting together. I can finally do that. I can't tell you, the things on the Amazon wish list are legit. If you want to help the show, subscribing is a very good way to do that. But also, if you want to give like a gift in kind, like there's lights on there, there's little stuff like pens and snacks and things like that. But there's supplies that, I mean, just I can't even tell you how much it helps do this. It's quite expensive, right, to actually make the show. And people who donated on the Cash App, it's just like, thank you so much. Like, I don't know who sent the light. I have a few ideas, but I don't know. And oh my God, like amazing.
Mary,
So,
if I may chime in.
you
one
may,
more time,
and then
in
we're gonna watch a
terms of-
video. Yeah.
In terms of community, I mean, what we really, I think I've always thought of you guys as friends, and, you know, we always talk about how this is like the unguild or the anti-guild, but
Oh, yeah.
it really drove
Always.
home to me how important community is. And I mean, you guys are essentially like investing in a startup, you know, with
Yeah, that's true.
your subscriptions, with, you know, whatever little, you know, thing that you can contribute. And like I said a bunch of times, like if following is all you can do, doing that is so amazing, you know, because it shows that there are people out there who are really interested in what we're doing here. And then the other piece of it is, I mean, all you have to do is tell other people. Like, that's the greatest gift of all. And you know, we're all part of a special thing. This isn't just something that you're passively looking at. Even if you're in the lurker lounge, you're still part of this. You know, and it's exciting. It really is. I mean, I know we all have fun, but this is also something like you guys are part of something that's like, you know, early adopters, forward thinking. You know, you're gonna look back in, you know, a year and say like, oh my God, I was one of the Quilt Nerd VIPs. I was one of the first people.
Yeah, the founding members. It's so true. I think that gets a Quilt Church moment. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna watch a video because I can't go on my trip, and I'm cold. I'm getting the chills, so I'm gonna warm up. I put on my sweater, which has green in it, so it looks like it's such a cool sweater, and I can never wear it on the show. Oh, well, I look really weird. I look like some sort of Egyptian hieroglyph, you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like some sort of Nefertiti, Isis, Osiris situation type deal. Let me see. Okay, anyway. Oh, that feels really good. It's really warm. All right, so this video we're gonna watch is something that it's very old. I'm gonna put it on my YouTube channel once I get permission. It won't be monetized because it's copyrighted material, but this, I've never watched it. Oh. But we're gonna watch it, and it's not on my YouTube channel yet. Yeah, it's private. We're gonna watch it together. This was from the collection of Mary Kay Waldvogel, my friend, who's probably in the Lurker Lounge right now. A great quilt historian, one of the most famous and best. So I digitized a bunch of her stuff, or burned a lot of her stuff years ago onto some DVDs, and I unearthed them recently. And this is like a deep cut, y'all. What is it gonna be? It's 30 minutes. Hang out if you can. Let's talk about it. It's from a public television show. I have no idea. It might be totally weird. But what else do you have to do? It's the morning. It's 11 a.m. I gotta eat something. Okay, let's do it. Let's see what happens. Would you see that?
Drink some water, Mary.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, are we going? Oh, no, okay. Oh, did I get small? No, I haven't gotten small. Sorry. It might be bad.
She was always conscious that she should share her ability to quilt.
Okay, this one's about one specific woman, Jane Blair, I think is her name. What are we gonna learn? Okay.
How she found time to do the kind of quilt work that she did, I have never understood.
Nice, nice.
They were made to keep you warm in the winter, and in Arizona you didn't really need them in the summer.
The music's on the
It's nice to see things that women did 100 years ago are still around. Not quite as disposable as most of the things we do.
Oh, Arizona quilts. Pieces of time. Pieces of time. Okay. Wow, look at that font. Anybody recognize that font name? I don't, but it looks like Mac Paint or something. It's not Comic Sans, but it's close. Some script.
Arizona in the 1800s was a harsh land. It was a brave woman who ventured into this little-known territory. She was often the wife or daughter of a soldier, a rancher, a farmer, or a miner. He worked to protect settlers, build a business, or find a...
Protect them against what? What could it be? That they were, fighting. It's like, it's the story of the settlers, like, they had a very hard time of it, but it's like, what was actually happening just never gets talked about, the colonization. Anyway.
Fortune. While she raised a family, organized a church, and started a school. She brought to Arizona all the skills she had learned from her mother and grandmother.
Mary Kate.
In addition to raising her children, she raised a garden and canned fruits and vegetables.
Protecting them against the men and the women who are already living there. I mean, thank you. It's not funny, but it's like, excuse me. Okay.
She churned butter, tended chickens, and milked the family cow. And she knew how to use a gun.
Nice.
Cut wood. And haul water.
Oh my God. Oh God.
Cut wood. And haul water.
Do you realize how fortunate we are? Do you stop and appreciate it? I'm not chastising you.
Do you realize how bad these women make us look?
Yeah, I mean, look at her. I mean, and this is still, it's not like no one hauls water anymore in the world. Obviously this is a human task that, it's not gone away, right? But like for a lot of people, I would say, watching this show, this is not part of your daily life. And I'm quite grateful for that because it looks really hard.
She also sewed the family's clothes and made bedding to keep them warm at night.
Hey, Wonky,
The
hi.
adage, a woman's work is never done, was never more true than for pioneer Arizona women.
Penny, nice. Yeah.
But making do with what she had was not new. These hardy Arizona women could draw from experience passed on to them by generations of women.
Well, that's a nice,
The
I like
patchwork quilt is uniquely American. When cloth was scarce, colonial women made use of every scrap.
Not true.
Sewing together bits and pieces of familiar cloth to make warm bed covers.
Well,
not content to simply sew the pieces together, women stitched the patches into patterns. They shared the patterns with friends and over the years gave them names.
We just know it's a misnomer. It's the colonial Americans did not make quilts like this. But okay.
A wedding ring. Grandmother's flower garden. Drunkard's path. And Lone Star. The colorful patterns of their quilts added a spot of brightness to their homes and their lives. And unlike most of the daily chores that filled a woman's life, the work of making a quilt rewarded her with a tangible creation that could be used, admired, and even passed on to future generations. In 1870, the census of the Arizona Territory lists less than 300 women, ages 16 to 59. Of these, most were Mexican women. Many, like Atancia Santa Cruz Hughes, married Anglo men, and learned the American tradition of quilt making.
Interesting.
Quilts reflect Arizona's blending of cultures, with Mexican religious symbols stitched into the center of a traditional American pattern.
Interesting. I don't know anything about that.
Life was hard as settlers fought Indians for control of the land. Atancia Hughes recalled the spring of 1871 in Tucson. The Indians had been very bad all winter, and they got very bold and kept coming closer and closer and closer, right up to our very doors.
Bold. They were bold. They're really bold. I love everybody, you know, who's watching. But like, one of the reasons I get so happy. Well, Molly said the best thing ever at AQSG at the seminar, the nerdy seminar about quilts a couple weeks ago. She was like, Quilt Nerd has taught me so much. Like, I can hang with the hardcore, like, quilt scholars. And that was the best thing I've ever heard. It's like amazing. It's like the coolest thing that you would learn things on the show that you could then like talk about, you know, with other people. But I love how everybody, like Jay's like, hey, it's okay. Yeah, I should totally be in bed. I'm pushing it, but I'm not going to go on the trip I was going to go on. So that's good. Anyway, Jay's like, the patchwork quilt is uniquely American. Like, we know it's not, it's not true. Like, it came from Britain, but like, so that's super nerdy. Everybody's like, you know, critiquing this video, like, excuse me, sir, you know, ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. Yeah, I think you should check your facts. And Pem Burrito, this video is a crack up, like 1,000%. Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny. I just love you guys like throwing shade, you know. Yeah, wonky quilter. The Indians had been very bad, right? I mean, it's just like, Auntie Sin, wouldn't there have been more women? Did they not count the brothel women? Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, of course not, right? Yeah, like the indigenous people were pests. I mean, at least the quilts are good. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
As life became more settled, more women arrived to civilize Arizona towns.
Oh, you gotta hate that word. You just gotta hate that word. To make more civilized towns means it was savage before, right? Anyway, sorry. We all know there's problems with this video, with the script. But also, the women who were settlers, they didn't have a lot of choice in the matter, right? They were taken along on this great journey west. I mean, rare, I think, would be the case when a woman was like, I'm not going out there. No thanks, honey. You know, I think I'll stay here in New England or whatever. So that's important to point out too. Not a whole lot of agency in a lot of ways in that whole thing.
Their quilts wrapped newborns and cushioned the bumps in covered wagons. They were a link to families left behind, often never to be seen again. And sometimes they were a record of family and community history. In 1882, Jane Nugent Hart was preparing to leave Wisconsin to join her husband Lum in Tombstone, Arizona.
Lum?
Family and friends surprised her with this friendship quilt to remember them. She wrote to Lum, "Dear husband, there has been a raid on the house. I was sitting very quietly knitting when in walked 36 of the citizens with their..."
What is this graphic? What is happening? What is happening? Why?
Lum, "Dear husband, there has been a raid on the house. I was sitting very quietly knitting when in walked 36 of the citizens with their supper. I felt weak in the knees. Then after supper, they presented me with an album quilt with all the old names. I wish you could see it."
Low budget. I like they put an echo.
Such a quilt was more than just a practical gift. For many women, making a quilt was also a social occasion. Many women lived for weeks and even months on isolated farms or ranches. Getting together to work on a quilt gave a woman a chance to join with other women in the family, friends, and neighbors to make the work go faster and to share news of the community. Worries, joys, hopes, fears, births, and deaths were discussed over the quilt frame. The resulting quilt warmed the soul as well as the body. Young girls were taught early the skills of sewing and quilt making. Starting when their small hands were able to work scissors, they learned to cut the many patches needed.
I'm gonna do one.
In the late 1800s, it became fashionable to use elegant fabrics and fancy embroidery to make what were called crazy quilts.
Okay.
Women in the Arizona Territory were far removed from fashions of the East, but they kept in touch with the latest styles. And in Arizona, too, they used their time and talents to create beautiful crazy quilts that could compete with those of their Eastern sisters. Many of these unique quilts contain dated ribbons made to commemorate special events. In 1885, this quilt was stitched in Jerome, Arizona, in honor of President Grover Cleveland's visit to the Arizona Territory.
You know, I have to say, Arizona, there's a lot of really great quilts made in Arizona. Huge, huge quilting culture. I mean, a lot of great stuff. When we did the Arizona issue of Quilt Folk, blew my mind. It was so interesting. Famous quilters, too, from Arizona, like Emma Anderson, I think. Anyway.
Crazy quilts also celebrated significant family events. Between 1880 and the 1890s, Clara Parton Greenleaf made this quilt to record the births of each of her 5 children. The initials of each child are embroidered on the quilt.
Do we have this in... I don't know if we have a link, but if you
Clara
can make one.
had come to Yuma, Arizona in 1881. She came with her husband, who worked for the railroad and was a deputy sheriff. Crazy quilts were often made with fabric ribbons and gave the maker an opportunity to show off her needlework skill.
Cigar ribbons. Cigar ribbons.
With fancy...
And the cigar ribbons were used in the boxes, you know, but also to tie bundles of cigars.
Embroidery. Nellie Smith used hundreds of tiny ribbons collected from the necks of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer bottles.
Oh, nice. I've never seen that before. That's great. Oh, I love that.
Together to form a tumbling block pattern.
That's freaking awesome. Pabst Blue Ribbon had ribbons. Oh, yeah. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Well, Blue Ribbon in winter. I didn't know Pabst Blue Ribbon had ribbons on the beer. It's kind of fancy. That quilt rules. I love it.
The quilt maker, Nellie von Gerichten Smith, collected the ribbons from her husband's business, the Palace Saloon in Prescott. Nellie sometimes entertained at the palace, always accompanied by her mother. Nellie was also said to be the first woman to play violin with the San Francisco Philharmonic Orchestra.
That's cool.
In addition, she gave children music lessons and wrote many musical scores, children's stories, and poems.
Love it. Cool.
During the 2 decades before Arizona became a state, life became more settled. The Indian Wars ended, and this new sense of security allowed many communities to grow and develop some of the refinements of Eastern society. In 1895, a group of women that call themselves the...
That picture is haunted. I'm sorry. This woman, I can't zoom in on YouTube. This woman here on the left, she's haunted. Okay, sorry. Also, while I'm paused, this is great. The Grand Endeavors book. You should get it through Abe Books, a Quilt Nerd affiliate to Abe Books. Yeah, it's the vintage, the Arizona quilts and their makers. It's the Arizona State Documentation book. It's great. It's one of the really, really good ones. Really, really good. Wonderful glossy pages. Great stories. Oh wow, yeah, it's really good. So you should get the Arizona book for sure. You know, later in your life, you'll be like, Mary Fonz is responsible for this very big quilt library and all the money I spent. So thanks, Mary. Okay.
The Monday Club took books from their own homes and started the first library in Prescott.
Amazing.
Mary Smith came to Arizona to work as a Harvey House girl, one of many young women who came west to work at the chain of tourist hotels established by Fred Harvey. Through that job, she met the Corticelli family, owners of a large silk factory in the east.
Mafia.
Mary came to Prescott, Arizona in 1894.
Borticelli or something? Mafia.
To work in the Burke Hotel. In 1903, she married William Lawler, the brother of the Hillside Mine discoverer. After she married, she lived 14 years at the Hillside Mine near Baghdad. Her daughter-in-law, Helen Lawler, heard many stories about those days.
Yeah.
She could step right in and do the cooking. Or if they needed the gold weighed and they were short of help, she could do that.
I'm always short of help when I need to weigh my gold. It's a problem, I'm telling you.
That. She was very, very versatile.
Mary even helped drive the wagon to haul supplies to the mine. It was a 32-mile ride by wagon just to pick up the mail. She was sometimes rewarded with a bundle of silk samples from the Corticellis. To relax in the evenings by lamplight, Mary would piece quilts from these colorful bits of silk.
Cool.
She was very conscious of having something beautiful, like her quilts. They were practical, and it was just wonderful for her to be able to sit occasionally and work on her quilts.
Jay, you're hilarious. Also, it's a good example of like, these quilts are so colorful and they're so, but you look at the life that the person was living. I mean, driving a horse, drawn carriage 32 miles one way. It's like, hell yeah, you're going to make beautiful, colorful quilts when you can sit down and have and have actually hours to sit down and make this beautiful thing. It's great.
It was just a very hard life, but she never thought of it as a hard life, as long as she could do handwork. And she just thought that a woman, in quotes, was almost useless that couldn't sew. And she said the 14 years that she spent at the mine were the happiest years of her life.
There you go. See?
Mary and Jake Ritter were also pioneers in this part of the Arizona Territory. Mary made this log cabin quilt in about 1905 when she was living on a ranch near Hillside.
Great.
It was a wedding gift for her son Ed Ritter and his bride. Mary died in 1911 before her grandson Curtis was born, but when he got the quilt, it still had a small note attached.
It says this quilt was made for Ed Ritter by his mother to give to his son.
Wow.
The Ritters first traveled through Arizona in 1863 on their way from Texas to California.
Civil War.
They settled in California and made friends with some Indians there. And Mary Ritter was warned by a squaw that there would be an uprising.
Sure enough, they went on into San Diego, and that night the Indians did kill everyone in that area.
Wow.
And burned anything that would burn.
Wow.
And so that probably saved all their lives at least. And my grandfather had remembered this area with the grass so high and so beautiful west of Prescott that they went through, that he'd always kind of been sorry he didn't stay there to begin with. So
he would have died.
So they came back, and they got back about 1868.
Interesting.
Mary Ritter was one of the first white women to settle in the Arizona Territory. She had 12 children, but only 7 grew to adulthood.
Oh, wow.
The family raised cattle and had a large garden. They would sell fresh fruits and vegetables to travelers along the old Ehrenberg Wagon Road.
Yeah, squaw, right?
How she found time to do the kind of quilt work that she did, I have never understood. And when I look at that thing, I can't see how anybody could do that fine work anyway, that little tiny stitches that you can't hardly see.
Oh, I love her shirt. It's great.
Like the Ritters, many of Arizona's early settlers did not come directly from the east. Instead, they took the more established routes to California and Oregon. Then, when they heard about opportunities in the Arizona Territory, these adventurous souls struck out again. The Van Deren family began its trek east across the California desert in 1870.
What's up with that? You know what? I have no idea. This is speculation. It's probably silly, but there's a lot of Mormons in Arizona too. I mean, what's up with this? What is this guy got 2 chicks sitting? I mean, I don't know. They look the same age. I'm just saying. I don't know.
76. The family of 10 increased to 11 when Ida Mae was born in a covered carriage in Big Pine, Nevada.
Interesting penny.
After scouting out many areas of Arizona, Godfrey Van Deren finally settled his family in the Verde Valley in 1878. Ida May grew up there to marry Alfred Dickinson. Together they ran the Pine Hotel in Flagstaff. Ida May raised 4 children and made many quilts that are still cherished by her grandchildren.
I have this stuff. I'm going to use it.
By the turn of the century, Tempe had become a thriving community with the growth of the Tempe Normal School for Teachers and the Hayden Flour Mill. In 1899, the Ladies' Aid Society, the first Christian church in Tempe, had the Arizona territorial legislators sign blocks of white fabric.
Tempe?
The ladies
I thought it was
embroidered the
Tempe.
signatures in red and planned to make them into a quilt to raise funds for the church. Women often use their needlework skills to raise funds for ambitious building projects. They help to build hospitals, churches, schools, and libraries.
Hey, Linda.
This quilt was made in Phoenix to raise money for the Red Cross.
Look at this moment. Yes. I put some hydration stuff in my water.
Arizona's entry into statehood marked a new period of growth and prosperity. Those coming to settle here were no longer pioneers in a frontier territory, but residents of our nation's youngest state. Ruth Wolfe Jordan came to Tempe in 1912. She was 10 years old. Her uncle had written to his family in the South about the building of Roosevelt Dam and the growth and prosperity that was coming to the area. When the Wolfe family came to Arizona, they brought many quilts with them. Then one day, a fire in their Tempe home destroyed nearly all of the family's possessions.
No.
But when Ruth's mother opened the charred wardrobe that held the family bedding, she found that the tightly packed quilts still had some undamaged sections in the middle.
Yay!
So she carefully cut out the good parts, and from the family heirlooms, she created 2 very unusual quilts.
Wow. Oh, wow. OMG. Look at that. Wow. A fire destroyed so much of the quilt, and so she repaired them in a wild way. I love that.
All of the family's possessions. But when Ruth's mother opened the charred wardrobe that held the family bedding, she found that the tightly packed quilts still had some undamaged sections in the middle.
Look at that up there by the chat box. Just piecing stuff together. I love this.
So she carefully cut out
It was probably red, right? And faded to that green.
the good parts. And from the family heirlooms,
Oh,
she
maybe-
created 2 very unusual quilts.
So cool. Oh, God. This up here, this is, it's like it's broken, right? Like it broke. It's so badass. I love it. And that makes me think about a couple quilts I've seen. Barbara Brackman wrote about one. Anyway, I'll find it for the show tomorrow night. That's very odd. And it's like, what is going on? And this fire story is really interesting.
This ability to make do in the worst of circumstances served Arizona pioneers.
Oh, God. I can't. It's so cool. I love her. So awesome. Wow.
Women well. Quilt making taught young girls practical lessons about sewing and sticking with a chore until it was done. This quilt was made in 1899 by an 8-year-old girl in Payson.
What? You go, 8-year-old girl. A little champagne cork
At the
for
turn
you.
of the century, the Payson area was still largely an untamed wilderness, but quilting was part of that rugged life. Alice Gillette Hott was one of Payson's pioneers. She made these sugans, or camp quilts. They are truly crazy quilts, but quilts made to be used on
No, they're not. They're not crazy. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. Can't tell.
cold winter nights. Her granddaughter, Pat Klein, still has a ranch in Star Valley and lives in one of the early settlers' homes.
Wow.
Pat has fond memories of her
Yeah, those aren't crazy quilts.
grandmother and her quilts.
Wow.
But I know that grandmother wasn't too particular about what she put on.
Look at those pieces. Not the center part so much, but those pieces, very G's bendy, you know. It's subsistent. Everyday quilts is the best term the term I like the most. Everyday quilts.
on those quilts. If it got a hole in it, she patched it with something. And she did her clothes the same way. And those quilts show you just about what her dresses look like.
Amazing.
Just about of a watness. I remember a dress she had that was print, and somewhere she got some brown velvet, and she just sewed it right on there.
Love it.
Lengthened those sleeves right out. And she was real long on velvet. See that? See, there's green velvet, and this was a piece of black velvet. All real long on velvet, I know, or anything fancy. That house was so, about like that barn, just so plain, wood floor. And if you want to know the truth, those quilts are the most colorful thing I can ever remember in her life.
And this girl wearing velvet, you know, being like, nope, I've got a velvet dress, damn it, and I'm gonna wear it. I love it. Long on velvet homes.
Many Arizona towns were founded by members of the Church of the Latter-day Saints, or Mormons. The Mormon movement into Arizona began in the late 1870s along the Little Colorado River. Farming communities were established along that river and down the eastern side of the territory.
Yep, Marianne.
The community of Pomerene in southern Arizona was founded in 1912 by Mormon missionaries fleeing from Pancho Villa and his troops during the Mexican Revolution.
Wow.
They cleared the land and started farming, started building a canal so they could farm.
Ethelene Scott Bailey was born that same year and grew up in Pomerene.
Wow.
Quilting was part of her daily life then and now.
Do you plant your garden? Yeah, Bill has a garden. We have trouble with rabbits and squirrels eating it though. And I don't know how old I was when I started quilting, but my mother always had a quilt hanging in the ceiling.
That's right with Mama too. Not always, but I can remember them hanging.
That's right, because the quilt frame would go up, you know, on pulleys, go up and be stored up top.
Some of her quilts were tied, but most of them were quilted because they lasted longer quilted. Well, we used them all the time. It took quite a number for 12 children.
Wow, 12.
Most quilts in these Mormon communities were scrap quilts. They made practical use of leftover pieces of cloth. And over the years, most of these quilts were used up and worn out. But some quilts were special. During the 1930s, Ethelene belonged to the Relief Society in Pomerene.
It looks beautiful. Oh, look at that hair. Look at that. That's like the Cupid doll hair. Cupid doll.
When had a birthday, we each made a block and put our name on it. And then we gave her these set of blocks, which was enough for a quilt. And that's how I got that friendship quilt in 1937.
Wow.
Quilts were also frequently made as gifts to celebrate births or marriages. More of these quilts have survived, treasured by families for generations.
Ethelene, yeah, Rothel, but not with an H or Y.
Most residents of Arizona in the early 20th century worked somehow in jobs related to the famous 3 C's: copper, cattle, and cotton. The quilts from this period reflect the simple, hard lives of the women, working beside their husbands to build better lives for their families. Quilt maker Janie Craig Follett worked as a ranch cook.
Not my favorite quilt.
Making something out of nothing has long been the tradition of quilt makers. They often recycled feed sacks, sugar sacks, and flour sacks.
Wow, that's intense. That is crazy. I've never seen one like that. That's very interesting. That's a very interesting quilt. Huh.
Even the color.
Wow, what?
Premiums that came in cigar boxes were put to use. Lottie Hazelwood carefully dyed and stitched Bull Durham tobacco sacks to create an H for Hazelwood in this original quilt. She collected the small tobacco sacks when she lived at Castle Dome, a small railroad station near Douglas. Pearl Chambers and Wilcox created this warm brick wall pattern quilt by using wool pieces from a tailor's sample book. Quilters often stitched scraps together in simple patterns that created striking designs. Quilts that were both useful and beautiful were created from the most humble materials. Sometimes the results were also most unusual.
Unusual to you. Oh yeah, that's pretty unusual. Wow. There's a lot going on there. Interesting. It's about 8 minutes left.
Through the centuries, quilt patterns have been passed from one woman to another, and at times particular styles of quilts have enjoyed special popularity. In the 1930s, quilt making enjoyed a new surge of interest. Magazines and newspapers printed quilt patterns, spreading certain styles quickly across the country. From Arizona to New England, quilts depicting a country girl known as Sunbonnet Sue and her brother Overall Sam were favorites.
Overall Sam! Stephanie Cake's into Overall Sam.
Other simple objects were also depicted.
Not her lover, Mary Ann Bonds.
Oh my God, remember when my mom... So, Overall Bill is like the male counterpart to Sunbonnet Sue. And remember when my mom was in the chat and she was like, oh yeah, Overall Bill, he's Sunbonnet Sue's lover. She said my mother said the word lover in the chat in front of God and everybody. And then Stephanie Cake was like, Marianne, it's Sunbonnet Sue's brother.
That might be the greatest thing I've ever heard, though.
Well, except for the time when she talked about heart cleavage. She was like, oh, that heart in that quilt, it's great. It's got good cleavage. We were like, okay, well, that's iconic now.
Were favorites. Other simple objects were also depicted by quilt makers. This clipper ship was made by a ranch wife in the Verde Valley.
Oh my God, I just saw that quilt in this book.
Some quilts have always been more works of art than simple bed covers. The flurry of quilt making in the 30s sparked this artistic yearning in a number of Arizona quilters. Rose Livingston came from Indiana to Yuma, Arizona in 1880 at the age of 15. She was a dressmaker and hat maker in Yuma. Rose didn't begin to quilt until she was in her 60s. She enjoyed working with colors and skillfully stitched intricate flowers that she designed herself, making quilts to give to each of her grandchildren.
Oh my God, Timmy the Termite. I met you at TwitchCon. It's so good to see you. Hi, I loved being at the table with you. You're amazing. Everyone should follow Timmy the Termite. It's not Timmy, it's Timmy. Timmy the Termite. I mean, of course it's you. It's you. Thanks for coming to the show. We have like 8 minutes. I'm super sick, as you can tell, and I'm like fading fast. But I missed doing the show so much that we're going a little bit longer today. But you were so awesome. It was so good to talk to you. TwitchCon was amazing. I really appreciate you coming by. We're watching a very old, not very good documentary about Arizona quilting. I mean, we wish them well, but it's got a lot of problems. We don't usually watch things like this on the show. I mean, we watch videos. Anyway, welcome. Those welcome baskets are for you in the chat. Timmy.
Rose did all of the fine applique work on the tops and then had them quilted by the Mormon Relief Society. Emma Andres was born in Prescott in 1902. She made her first quilt in 1931.
You're going to recognize her because of the Jesus. Look, it's the Jesus quilt, the cross-stitch quilt. That's Emma Andres. I've never seen her talk. She did the spinning wheel lady, too. We're going to see it, the red and white. I have to stop yelling. Yelling is not going to help me. Okay.
From a kit she ordered through
Oh, wait,
a woman.
sorry. So the Jesus and the Lamb quilt is made by the same woman as the spinning wheel quilt?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't know that.
Emma Andres.
Okay.
I mean, I'm 99.9% sure. No, I'm sure.
Magazine. By 1933,
there.
her original design quilt, Silhouette, won an award at the Chicago World's Fair.
Timmy, Mr. Termite, those quilts we call 8-bit quilts, technically called cross-stitch quilts, but you would be interested, I think, in the 8-bit quilt. Anyway.
It was just the first of many spectacular quilts Emma would make, using religious, patriotic, and southwestern themes.
Out where the hand clasp's a little stronger,
Out where the smile dwells a little longer, that's where the West begins.
No.
Out where the sun is a little brighter, where the snows that fall are a trifle whiter, where the bonds of home are a wee bit tighter, that's where the West begins.
I've never seen her talk. Look at that. I mean, it's not for me, but it's pretty amazing.
Many of her quilts were made in a mosaic style,
The
using
hat.
thousands of tiny half-inch pieces of fabric to create a picture.
I completely give the Lord the credit.
Yeah.
They were inspirations from someplace, and there was no monkey business about it either.
I'm sorry. I'm tapping it back.
Because some were inspirations.
Quilts were made in a mosaic style, using thousands of tiny half-inch pieces of fabric to create a picture.
I completely give the Lord the credit. They were inspirations from someplace, and there was no monkey business about it either. Because something ordinary wasn't going to please me at that time, don't you see? I needed a deep beauty in my life to protect some of the tougher ones, I can tell you that.
Oh, I love
For
you.
many years, Emma displayed her quilts in her father's Prescott cigar store. In fact, it came to be called Emma's Happiness Museum.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Quilt making has always been a family tradition. Mothers taught their daughters basic sewing skills as well as a love for fabric and color. The family tradition of making a quilt can sometimes be seen in one quilt. These red and white feathered stars were pieced by Nancy Frances Oliver in 1903 in Eden, Arizona.
I like it. Weird size, weird dimensions. Keep seeing these. I mean, I guess kind of throw size, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. I like it.
Nancy followed the Mormon migration from Illinois to Utah. As a young family, she and her husband pioneered various settlements, finally moving to Eden in 1888. Nancy Oliver gave the blocks to her daughter, Rilla Ann Oliver Curtis, who in turn gave them to her daughter, Laura Curtis Batty, who had been born in 1904.
Generation.
Laura, Nancy's granddaughter, finally stitched the blocks together and quilted the Feather Star quilt in 1938.
She finished
The
it.
quilt is now owned by Laura's daughter, Cheryl Weech, Nancy Oliver's great-granddaughter. Nancy Oliver.
Sorry.
The quilt is now owned by Laura's daughter,
The way she
Cheryl
turns.
Weech, Nancy Oliver's great-granddaughter.
Funny. Posing.
Often the talent of quilt making is inherited along with the family quilts. Nancy Bradford Clark is a third-generation quilter,
That's cool.
making contemporary artworks that have won national awards.
I like it.
Nancy's grandmother, Bessie Freeman Woods, was born in Louisiana, went to college in Texas, and moved to Tucson with her husband in about 1908. Bessie and her family owned and operated the Fairview Dairy in Tucson until 1960. She was also a prolific quilter.
My mother always had busy work in her hands, and she had what was called a scrap bag. And there was nothing in the scrap bag except new materials. She never made quilts from any material that was used.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, there's a lot of, the misconception, right, that all quilts were made from like these scraps that you had to save from everything, like dish towels and like Timmy's breeches and stuff. But most, I don't know if I can say that, but like quilts made from material that you get at the dry goods store, you get at the merchant, that was more typical because fabric became so cheap. It was more accessible to more people, not everybody. There's 3 minutes left in this video. It's lagging a little bit for me, but the Emma Andres thing, I'm putting that on the soundboard, by the way. And there was no monkey business either. I'm putting it in.
She made this quilt for her daughter, Daisy, when she got married.
The thing I liked about her quilts, so many of her materials were scraps from things that she had made or I had made or that I knew someone who had used them. So it's lots of memories are tied up in a family quilt.
Daisy and Bessie worked together to piece this Lone Star quilt when Daisy was pregnant with Nancy. Nancy did not become interested in quilting until later.
Okay, Nancy. Okay.
Growing up,
cool.
They weren't anything special. I don't think that my grandmother would have been surprised to hear one of the grandchildren say that.
I like that.
But now...
That's very 1990s art quilt. Very. By somebody who's trying it out,
No, of course, they become treasures.
Nancy's new quilts also have special meanings.
Interesting.
This quilt was made for her son, David. He had a head injury from an automobile accident and was in a coma for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And in the hospital for 2 months.
Oh.
People kept saying, what can I do? And there was always a crowd of his friends or our friends at the hospital. And I got the idea because blankets are comforting. And I don't know how the hands jumped in there, but they did.
Interesting.
But it came together very quickly, the idea. I came with my little basket of apples and food and scraps. We would trace hands of anybody that showed up.
That's amazing.
The people who were there did it. They traced their own, they traced somebody else's, and then cut those out.
That's awesome.
3 friends helped Nancy do the applique and quilting.
And the 4 of us sat around the frame and laughed and worked out our lives. And for the first time, I got an idea of what quilting bees were about.
David finally recovered from his accident.
Yay!
And he gave the quilt its official name, Live Long and Prosper.
Nice. 87. Interesting. So this is from the 80s, this video. Well, no, it's not.
Quilt making continues to be very much alive in Arizona today. New patterns and designs continue to evolve.
I think everybody has a quilt in them.
A quilt today is as likely to...
Interesting. Okay, cool. Very, very, yes, I like it. Yep. I mean, it's fine.
...be found hanging on a wall as spread across a bed.
It's interesting, those drunkards, the pie and crust, the way she did it. It's interesting.
The quilt maker may be a Native American who learned the craft from her Anglo sisters and now makes it her own.
Who forced her to learn? Okay, sorry. Just have to point that out.
Quilts today are a thread connecting us to our past, a tangible connection to our grandmothers, whispering to us, if we listen, about her life, her hardships, and her hopes, her sorrows, and her joys. Quilts are also part of the fabric of our future, teaching the values of yesterday to create a stronger tomorrow.
Look at that little scamp. Look at that little shorty quilting in a hoop. Oh my God.
Teaching the values of yesterday to create a stronger...
Love him. He's quilting in a damn hoop.
Tomorrow.
Oh, look at that guy. Oh, he loves it. He loves it. I love it too. And our font, amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna cut out because about halfway through this fast-paced video, which I actually really liked, I realized how ill that I really am. But okay, so here, Steph, were you gonna say something?
Go home and rest. We want you alive for tomorrow's show.
Yes. There's a show tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and I will be here Central Time. So thank you everybody for coming. You know I love the morning show. I love doing it. There are times I want to switch one of the weekly shows to be the morning show. I almost said the Mormon show. No, one of the shows will not switch every week to being a Mormon show. But I'm going to go rest, Pam. Good call. So remember, we're going to do some fun things with the channel next Thursday. Co-work with me. I'm just going to turn on the camera in the office and work and have highly private conversations. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that. Y'all are the best. I love you so much. I missed you. And I'm going to go rest and have chicken soup, literally. So thanks, Cake. You're great. I appreciate you all. And I will see you tomorrow night. Bye, everybody. Sorry I couldn't do the show Tuesday. Now you all understand. Okay. Bye. Thank you, Timmy.
Bye.